We are live, and I'm here with Martin Liedtke of Flat Earth British. So I'm very excited to have him on my channel. I've got a bit of an echo in the background there. I hope that's not bothering you guys in the chat. Just let me know if your audio is okay. Hey, Rich, nice to see you, fan man. Michelle, nice to have you stop by. Most people may not know this, but Martin and I have known each other for a good few years now. We met at the first Flat Earth conference. We shared some good ideas back then. And we've kind of stayed in touch. We did some activism together in Wales.
Yeah.
Damar Sargent came out to join us. We had a bit of fun. That day. And if anyone's a big supporter of Martin, they can go back on my channel, and I guess it had to be September or the month before of 2018 when we did that, because it was just a few weeks before the
September.
It was September, yeah. Just before the Flat Earth conference, so we hung out again there. And we've stayed.
It was 9/11, because you put 9/11 as a hoax on the pavement in chalk, and the police came along and moved us off because of it. Because it was on 9/11. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh man, those are the good old days when you could kind of just have a nice conversation with the police. Now they want to stick their truncheon up your backside for stopping.
Yeah, man. I know.
The world has changed dramatically, and I had cause to look at one of the old videos from the 2018 Flat Earth activism, and wow, man, those were different times, Martin. And in so many different ways. One, partly because we were out there on our own, but and partly because back then we thought something was coming, but we hadn't had it happen. And now we live in a world in which it's happened and happening to us all of the time. So I'm keen to use today as a conversation, as an opportunity to maybe get some folks up to speed with some of the fantastic research you guys are doing in the Tartaria history, the mud flood information. I'm really interested in all of that. I have been, I've been a follower of your channel and Lee Flat Earth British Sub, since he had 20 subscribers. So I'm very fascinated in that. I'd love to share stuff with that. And people who follow my channel will know whenever I'm out and about, if I have a camera and I have a moment to spare, I'll try and catch some images of a church or a building underground and stuff like that. So that's the one thing I'd like to talk about today. And then also maybe where the geopolitics is at. Everybody's keenly aware that there's some crazy knife-edge stuff going on at the moment for pretty much everyone, everywhere across the plane. So I'd like to touch on that a little bit without straying too deeply into areas that get our channels ripped down, because our friend Rich, the Ceiling Fan Man, he's had his channel suspended for a week. I don't know yet what he's said, but he and I are having a conversation later this evening, 9 p.m. GMT, if anyone's interested in listening in on that. I'm not sure. It's being hosted on his friend's channel, so if Rich wants to put a link onto that for later on, then go ahead. And then, where are we going next? And people who've been following my story for a while will know that I have dabbled my toe in the off-grid, get away from all the craziness thing. I still think there's a lot of value in that. I still think we should be becoming far closer to nature and all of those sorts of agendas, and simplifying our lives, but not necessarily at the expense of our good life, our wellness, and I feel like part of what was happening with me was I've been pushed to kind of get out, and so I think we need to try and find a balance, like with everything, something in between the two, and that's what I'm striking for. But primarily, I'm saying we are sovereign, and I think my thinking, the stuff I want to talk about is less to do with what a dreadful bunch of characters have these Phoenicians or have been, or whoever it is. What a dreadful bunch of characters. Let me spit at them. Let me throw stones at them, or let me hide at home in fear of whatever they're telling me. I think we have to return to kind of some sovereignty in which those theaters of activity that are out there are no longer relevant to us. That's where I'm hoping to take this. So I'll start with that as my intro, Martin, and hand it over to you, and say, how's it going? I know you've got some, new pad. You've moved on a little bit, I think. Maybe you can give us all an update where Martin Liedtke's at, and then talk about the Tartaria stuff.
David, you have put me on the spot now. Yeah, times have moved on since the convention. There's no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
that was a horrendous time for myself personally. I was going through all sorts of
Yes.
horrendous life events. So this has
You
just
had your
been
channel pulled. Were we talking about this last convention, just as you had your channel pulled?
no, the last convention last September, I had my main channel pulled or hijacked,
Yes.
kidnapped. That was a very unusual circumstance. I did get the channel back, but unfortunately, I got a copyright strike this morning for both the Celtic Tatarian channel for 3 months, right, and the Flat Earth British Think Tank channel for 3 months. Now, the weirdness, right?
Tell me why. Tell me why.
Well, no, I spoke about, and I thought it was an important video because it just, when you hit upon a truth, you get like sort of resonation buzz, don't you? So I was like, this is something in this now, so I'm going to go for it. And I knew it was going to be trouble before I spoke about it. It was about hidden lands. Okay? So they literally, off of the Tartarian channel, they said it was for Lumiere Brothers video that I was going to play on there. And it was deleted, and I got a copyright strike for 3 months because of that. Yet, completely different story on the Flat Earth British Think Tank channel. They tell me that I've got a 3-month strike for using Periscope video, which was the Admiral Byrd stuff that I was showing, which is a completely different story. So I thought, well, that's 2 different stories, so it's just bullshit. You just don't want this spoken about. And it's still there. I put it on unpublished last night, and I thought to myself then, laying there last night, I thought, no, fuck them, let them move it. If they want it gone, they want to delete it. It's still ticking over. You can still watch it today. But I got a copyright strike and a ban for using it. Yeah, it's still ticking over. I've never ever known this in YouTube history, Dave. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. And they deleted it off of another channel. So there's real fuckery afoot here, and I think it's because of what I spoke about. It was pretty hard evidence as well to, lies by U.S. military in the 50s. So yeah, I've only got the Martin Liedtke channel, which I'm on now, for 3 months. So I better be very, very careful because the YouTube Nazis are not letting you speak about anything. You've got like a sort of thing you have to agree to now every time you go live or make a video. Have you seen this, David? Where you got any use of any bad language or
I haven't seen that yet.
Harassment, what constitutes harassment in their book? Saying the masks are bad for your health would probably be harassment in their book. So, it's a very tender line. And with the police, just like you said, bashing everyone over the head, for feeding pigeons, and stupid stuff, then obviously YouTube are going to be as extreme. So, yeah, I think days may be numbered this year for YouTube. They're really stamping out truth. They're disappearing all over the place. So
Why though? I mean, here's the interesting thing for me, and maybe you have an answer to this, but why are they, why now? Why so hard now? Did they not have the license to get away with it before? What's the reason do you think they're going so hard now? What's your feeling?
I don't think licensing or laws or anything that we used to believe in the past, even the common law, if you like, even counts anymore. Because we're going over into the realm of what they call martial law, which is a police state, as everybody knows now. And your rights don't mean anything anymore. We didn't have any rights when we were cattle before, but now they're doing a census and see what everyone is about. Everyone stay at home and think about what you've done.
We are the children. I've got this theory. Sorry, you go on.
No, time to reflect, I think. I don't know. Time to reflect. Why are they beefing it up? Well, David, that's clear to me. That's clear. This year is the year when we find out everything. This year is the crossroads for humanity. We make it or we break it. We make it, we escape it all. We break it, we're enslaved for the rest of our, our fake histories, and we never see the light of day again. So that's where they're headed. But I'm literally feel it inside now that is not the case. We've set our intent for this new world that is awaiting us, and it will come. It's been here before in the recent past, David. Before the cities that arrived in the 1800s, we were small duchies, and with urbanization, they removed all of the country, the rural fields at the centre of cities. You still had and grass, you'd have big monuments, but it would still feel within the country with the trees and everything, beautiful. But they got rid of all of that with the urbanization. It took maybe 60, 70 years. Every single city on earth underwent this urbanization program, which was knocking out all of the old Tatarian furniture and mixing it with their tech, which was glass, steel, and iron, which all arrived later. Oh, ugly stuff. So, things have moved on a lot now, David, and even this week. I don't know whether you've been watching the Flat Earth British Sub and my channel this week, because, we've been smashing the doors off reality again, and things are going to change again, no doubt about it. They got to wind up. They can't fall risk. We've exposed the whole game. There's millions and played out, and this is a stage show. Everybody knows it now in our realm, and millions more. On the news is what I see. In my mind's eye, I see this. I see that if they can pull a scandemic on the whole of humanity and make them all stay in and wear masks, then on the news, them saying that, well, actually, it might be a possibility that all space agencies have been telling lies is not a giant leap of the imagination for me right now. Okay? There's like, this softens them up for they've been gaslighting everyone with absurdities. People are believing really weird stuff, So I think it's a possibility.
I have some thoughts I'd like to offer on that. Obviously there are myriad storylines in play at the moment, and the alien one, and the that something's in the air. We got a feeling like that because I spent so much time looking at the electromagnetic theory. I think that this world works with pulses of electromagnetism at certain times.
You should mention that because that's what we've been touching upon this week.
Okay,
I'm not even joking.
Okay, so I did a presentation on this on my channel about 2 years ago, and I was really juiced up about it back then. I got hit by the police, and a bunch of other difficult things happened to me since then. So I really haven't had much chance to kind of stay abreast of it. But when I look into that and I consider like how the astrologers talk about the energies and so on in the universe, then I think that these things might be coming in waves, Martin, and that what they want us to do is to be indoors in a low vibratory state of fear, so that we can not receive fully the goodness that is coming to us from the energetic shift. That's sad on the whole for the human story, but I think that we've been given this powerful knowledge for the reason that there's got to be a few candles that carry this light forward, and this knowledge forward and so on. So for me, yes, while I see the majority of the society falling into like the cement of this bullshit, I also think that there needs to be this like pulling back from being so sort of in the fight as I've been, and to see what is the meta game that is going on, and realize that the creator, that the thing we come from, the creation we come from, is a creation of love, and in essence it will return to that in the fullness of time, whether it's the 26,000 year cycle that we're talking about, or whether just it's a winter summer sort of alternation of dark and light that the human story goes through. Because as you know from your Tartaria research and all that, is that there have been great periods of enlightenment where the human story has been one of richness, spiritual richness, in which the mind could be used to create things, etc. And the abundance upon earth is, we've only scratched the surface of the iceberg of terms of how much has been lost, how much we don't know, how much was destroyed. So I think that there is a cycle to these things, and that my preferred narrative is that the people who know that kind of run the darkness, right, and they know that they can, with certain clever tricks, they can keep their winter running longer, hold the human story from getting to the spring, getting to the summer. But I think inevitably the spring and the knowledge and the Armageddon or the awakening, this happens over maybe 100 years, maybe 10 years, maybe, I don't know. But I think that this is what happens. And the only way that it's carried is through the torch of the human, because the man's book is tainted. The man's book and his knowledge has always been skewed. It's always been used against us. So I think there is a way, there is definitely a trajectory. I'm not saying I have all the answers now yet, because I think we still have some dominoes to fall in the craziness that's coming. But I think it'll become evident to us. And whatever choices we have made, wherever we are right now, what matters most is that we're in a state of balance, in a neutrality, in a state of kind of loving. I'm not getting frightened about the next thing that's coming. I'm not, I'm not angry. I'm not standing at the gates of the parliament and demanding that they listen to me finally, because they're never going to listen to you. They're only going to use your noise as a way of bringing in some sound cancelling equipment or soldiers or whatever. And that's inevitable. That's the script that's been written, but we don't necessarily have to follow that.
Yeah, don't achieve jack shit. It doesn't achieve. I've been through all these roads like you, David. The best course of action. Essentially, what needs to happen, everyone fears, I feel, which is, to put it simply, an uprising. Against them, they have to go. All will governments. There is a crazy kind of communism that's just veiled the entire realm, everybody, which means that there's no one to run to, which means that the captain of the ship is truly unhappy. Okay. And like you said, these waves I've been feeling as well. I think every maybe generation or so, these consciousness shifts to next level. Definitely, they try to suppress. They know that it's going to happen. And like you said, David, they take us away from nature. That our natural clock and our natural position in nature. What happens above us with the sun and the moon. They shift everything, but the skewing of the dates. New Year, everyone, Happy New Year in the middle of winter, and all of this. This Phoenician paradigm, which we call.
It's about desensitizing. This is an important point I want to make. Actually, it's about desensitizing us, and I think what they're doing with the hand gels and the masks is about desensitizing more.
The heat guns.
Say again.
The heat guns to desensitize children about having guns pointed at them.
Wow, that's a scary one. That's a scary one. But here's the thing: is they want to do it to the children. We were all damaged in our age by a various narrative. And it was AIDS in the 80s or 70s. It was the Cold War in the 60s. It was. Well, Kimmy might be able to tell me what it was in the 60s, but the whole Cold War was in the 60s as well, and then in the 40s it was World War II, and our parents, most of them European parents, their lives were shaped significantly by events in that time. And I think that when you damage the child, psychologically traumatize the child, you create a Stockholm syndrome relationship with authority that then carries out throughout life. And even though you may reject a certain kind of authority, invariably you will assume another type. So you'll say, oh, I'll kick that authority, but I'll replace it with this one here. So religion out, government in, or science, or whatever. And this is what they've done to previous generations, and now I see them doing it to the young generation again, which is why I've started to suggest to people that this might actually be the early salvos of World War III. This might be the beginning of a few years of psychological traumatization, Mark, because they did World War II as long as they needed to. They could have ended it at any time, that. So what was the purpose? It was like an election cycle long. It was long enough to do the trauma that would then scar into the future.
4 or 5 years. Yeah. Sort it out. Civil War, the same, 4 years. First World War, 4 years. Second World War, 6 years. Pandemic in 1990, 3 years. It's always these cycles. No, you bang on there, David. Yeah.
So I think that's what's being done. I deplore it. I think it's dreadful. But the best that I can say of it is that maybe it's a test for us. And for me, say this last year, 2, 3 years of challenging the world around me has actually prepared me for taking a different road rather than the dialectic black and white, red and blue, and all of that. I
Yeah,
am going middle way, green and
best
brown.
way. Best way.
Yes.
There's three sides to every coin, David. Be the third.
Yeah, absolutely, and be balanced and be and this is what I've had some nice messages of support from guys who've watched some of my recent stuff where I'm saying this kind of thing because we need to be reminded of that. We are being put under significant mental duress through the things that are being brought to people's lives. We can either see that as something that breaks us or like an opportunity to say, okay, I'm being tested. The flood has come, and I need to have used all of the learning and knowledge and understanding of this deception to empower myself to come out of the end of this stronger and ready for what's coming down the line. Now, can we completely get rid of the system? Absolutely not. I think that the unfortunate truth is that the majority of us are so born and bred into that system. It's like taking, and I don't mean this unkindly, but taking pasture-fed animals and putting them out in the wild. It won't work.
Yeah.
And of course, our psychology of children who played Call of Duty rather than how do I serve my community, what's my duty to my community, that's what we've done to all of ourselves, and I'm wearing my this old army jacket that I took off a destroyed vehicle in the Angolan war, actually, and it's actually got your flat Earth British stamp on that you gave me a few years ago, by the way.
Wow.
But we've all been traumatized in our way, and that has been used therefore to alter the psychology. And the flat Earth, as you know, is designed to take your true senses from you. You no longer can tell your senses are lying to you because you believe that you're spinning, and so your senses are not telling you that, meaning you can no longer trust your senses. You can no longer trust your parents because you've just discovered they lied about Santa. And the religious books have got one story about how it's all created. The science, so the government, teachers give you, says another thing. It's all about breaking and altering and dividing and cracking. And we have to remember. We have to come back together. And in order to do that, we have to face all of these lies. We have to know these things so that we can then, come back to understanding. And you, having been in Flat Earth as long as you have, must have had that life as slowly, like life-altering kind of tooling, repositioning of yourself in this matrix.
Yes, so much.
It
I'm a
takes a time.
completely different person as I was when you met me. I'm not the same person at all. Physically or mentally, I think completely differently. I had elements of the old world still in me at that time, even though I was 3 years flat earther by the time the convention came along.
Yeah.
I still had elements of the old world, the old thinking. I hadn't completely let go of the matrix. I was still eating that steak,
Yeah.
but that's just not now. Not no. I've just let go of all of their bullshittery. We can see through it all anyway. And if you just go down these avenues of thought and inquiry, you're just going to get lost and never get to the truth. Just get further away from it. So it's pointless even going there. I just leave it all behind and get on with the truth that you can find or we can find as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think things in balance. Like my first few years of deep research, I put 18 hours a day into it. It was all I did. It was before Alexander came along, so I had more free time, and I wasn't working at that point, so it was all I did. And now I'm like, I love having channels like yours that I can go to and pick up juice here and there, but I know that I have to balance my consumption of new information with the work that I do on my own sort of stillness, because in a way for me YouTube became like a replacement to Netflix. I started just pounding, I was depressed and stuff. It was and I was watching like box series or box sets or whatever over a weekend, and I was I was doing 24-hour sessions. It just not stop non-stop. So I was really well practiced for that. But I replaced my YouTube, and other people do it with Instagram, and Facebook was a bit like that for me at one point, where you're going and checking it and so on, and you're living outside it of yourself, and we need to be in the world but not of it. So I'm happy, I agree that we should have some of these things, but it's about having them in a balance. And we can get so hungry chasing. I'll use the example of the child sex trafficking, pedophilia and stuff. Horrible things that go on, and we can become so immersed in that we're actually carrying that darkness around with us all of the time. I remember, Martin, when I was looking in some of the horrible subjects in 2015, 16, really the gruesome stuff.
And they were everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, and I was bringing that into the bedroom. I was carrying that energy around with me. Andrew was
okay. That's the thing. They put this stuff out there, and then people have to be forced to think about these things. So that's what I can't fucking stand. So I won't even go down these avenues. I'm aware that this illness exists and is fucking poisoning our society. I'm aware of all of these terrible things, but I'm just not that sort of person who's able to take it on psychologically or think about it too deeply. It just came my head in,
Well, oftentimes it may be that it triggers a certain trauma. It triggers a certain trauma that the individual has experienced. So they're looking to kind of rectify that in the world. I would offer to people that maybe it's also offering them that opportunity to kind of stare at the beast and say, you know what, I'm going to let that go, because my own wellness is far more important than staying in their murky pit. Because you can stand in the street till you're blue in the face and say there's terrible things going on, but we all know that the system is designed to protect that.
I'm the same. I only watch a couple of videos. I watch a couple of, just keep an eye on the people in the realm. In the alternative history field. If there's an odd live feed like with you and Russian vids come on, I watch a bit of that.
Well, thank you very much.
They are really, really good. But I just I can't take on other people's information. I get 100 links a day sent about Corona or what's happening in America with Trump, things like that, and I just really couldn't care less about any of it at the moment. It's a pandemic. It's the survival of the human, the human story here. Our chance to make it or break it, and I haven't got time to piss around with all of that. We're getting to real truths. Real truths now, and this is why this thing's been closed down. You did your active last year, David. They knew you were going to go across America this year. That was planned. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Millions would have known about it. You'd have had CNN turning up like you did in you.
Doing it in English.
You imagine that was going to go down.
Really fun in English. That's what 2018 was. In English. In 2019, it was difficult in a foreign language, and man, do I want to do that? And my feeling is that time will still come. We need to come out of the storm strong, not broken, because the storm can only last so long. They can only pull these things for a certain length of time before they lose the electorate.
Yeah, and in 1984, they say perpetual war. So like you just say, they're softening us, and there's no mistaking, the elephant in the room, David, which is all the world's armies are missing. There's no longer terrorist attacks, and no wars actually happening, or that they're reporting on. So where are all the world's armies? What are they doing? What are they waiting for? And I'll tell you where else. FEMA are sitting there waiting exactly the same every day on CB radios, waiting for something to arrive. What exactly?
Well, let's start by saying some of that could be the fear porn that they keep pumping us with. You're going to run out of food, you're going to run out of money, you're going to run out of this.
Every single day. And when I go out into the world, I prove all of it wrong. They say that you can't move out of your local vicinity, you can't do this, you can't do that. Yeah, if you go on train app, there's trains running as they were before the pandemic, and people are on them, running around doing their business and their work and stuff. So they're just scaring people away from traveling and doing stuff, but the world's still running. It's just
made for TV. It's a TV disease.
The real world doesn't, but I am getting sort of, people are getting touchy with me now, David, concerning my chronic non-maskness. So I'm pro-face, okay? So I'm getting like a bit of, a few, you stand back off me and you haven't got a mask on. It's like, well, you have, so don't worry about it then. And I'm getting this quite a bit now. So,
My approach, if I can offer, my approach is to be as super nice as possible.
I
I
am.
was asked just this morning actually by a guy in the Waitrose, and I went up to him because he had a go at me the other day, and I went up to him and said, "Hey, good morning. I have an exemption." All right, that's it. That's all they can say. I went and checked the government advice last night, and it still is that you should not wear one if it's going to cause you harm, and it will.
Yeah, I know.
And you should not be routinely asked for it, and you don't have to have a doctor's note or an
They're
exemption card.
not allowed to ask you, David. It says on my card, my NHS card, that you're not even allowed to ask me about my problems because you're not a health official.
But we are living in the strangest of communist states in which people now think that I have to be responsible for their health. I'm never
No.
going to ask someone to be responsible for my health. It's my responsibility. But we've gotten into this that I now, we used to be frightened of the Germans over the water. Now we're frightened of the German dude who lives next door, and his kids. And this is where we've turned. We've gone from your enemy is in a different country to your enemies in your neighborhood, and now in the American thing, and you're seeing it even in the British media. People who are not buying the bullshit are being considered to be, I don't want to say the word, but it starts with a terrorist. I mean, that's what they're saying, and that's what they're doing. That's what the whole staging of the Capitol Hill assault, is, in my view, was, or allowing it rather, was, and it wasn't an assault. It was just people, I think, in the main, just getting caught up in the moment, but being allowed in to create the narrative, which is going to empower the Democrats in their agenda. Because if it happens that the guy who's coming in, Biden, does come within days, I think that America will catch up with the rest of us, where they haven't necessarily been in such tightening lockdown situations. They will be fast forwarded into, as I think Australia are about to, because Australia took the foot off the pedal and said, yeah, we beat it. We went hard for 6 weeks and we're clear. Now they're saying, oh, the new one's here. You can expect a rapid fire lockdown to come. So I think there's a timeline playing out here, Mart, and it's possibly to the end of the month. It's possibly the 21st of February. It could be a little longer than that, but I think that there is a particular window that they're trying to capture our energy within. And if they do that, then yes, perhaps it's 3 years or 30 years that their Agenda 2050 will come to fruition. I don't like it. I think it's a betrayal. But the problem is that, as well as being lied to, we've kind of been coerced into consenting in the main to what's going on. And that's because people don't know. So it's a two-sided thing. It's one, you've been lied to. Two, you're consenting to it. And until you realize where you've been lied to, you won't know what to consent to anymore, and to pull back into your own power. Yes, no, Astral Thief, I'm afraid you won't be seeing me in Portugal at any time soon. I am, I loved the time there, and I learned to gained a great deal from that experience, and it's going to stand me in good stead. I proved that I was, more than capable of handling some of the hardships that come with living off-grid. I was given a bit of a hand up because, I wasn't setting everything up. Stuff was already set up by my mate Dan. But to be honest with you guys, and I've said this before, I know, but in Portugal, I felt like I'd lost my voice. I had no one to talk to, and if I'm going into a street situation,
I know exactly what you mean. I've talked for so long, you can't even talk. I've had it, David. I know.
Yeah, and then like if you're in town, trying to engage with people, of course you're a foreigner. You look different, and you can't say a word pretty much to anybody. So in that way, it wasn't the right move for us not at this time. I'd love to be on the land in the fullness of time, but I think there's work to be done. Like I said, I'm not sure, and I said this a few years ago, do they really want us who've learned this stuff to go and hide in the forest, stay away from them, and not be, guiding people or bringing people back to the center, back to balance, back to harmony, back to love, to light, which is where we're meant to be going. Is Doc Michael in the house? How are you doing, my friend?
Dockage.
Nice. You're a bit of a stalwart in the community nowadays, and it's nice to see.
True, you're right. It's a great said, David.
Yeah, and Bren L33C3 says life experience has shown me our enemy is always closer than our friends, and actually this is true because the enemy is actually within each of us, because until we realize that we've been turned into something that doesn't honor, it doesn't know what it is, and therefore doesn't honor itself, how can we possibly stand in our sovereignty? And that doesn't mean perfect. I don't mean perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think life is for enjoying. We're here actually to have a great time, to have some fun. Maybe get it wrong, because by getting it wrong, we
Yeah,
realize, oh, I need to be better.
mistakes are vital, David, or you won't learn at all. That's the whole point with
Yeah,
mistakes.
and so maybe if we see this as a school, and we've learned a bunch of the lessons, we still have more to learn,
Oh yeah,
and in time we can help our brothers and sisters. This is why I try not to be Andrew. Used to have a go at me in the early days. Why are you giving people such a hard time for not seeing this? And in a way, she was right that if people were disabled in a particular way, you wouldn't be criticizing them for not walking as fast as you. Or seeing as well.
yeah.
Um,
We're
you
all
know,
guilty to some
yeah,
extent.
yeah, 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 we are. But this is us maturing and realizing that, if they want to call us, names and stuff like that, well, allow them to come at you from that perspective. But if we know that we're kind of going through junior school, high school, university, if we're going through that, and you've got a junior school kid shouting names, it'd be like, you'll learn. Don't worry about it. And I think this is because what we all did with Flat Earth is we went and argued with our family and friends endlessly about this lie of spinning globes. So what we did was we created that kind of enmity, and that's exactly what they love with all of this. Is like, it separates people, it divides families. They did it with Brexit. They've done it with the Donald Trump. The red blue thing in America. It's just black white. They do it with all of these things all of the time. And so what we've got to be, if we're to be the higher thinking partner in this relationship,
So
then we've got to go, hey, I got to pull you here. I'm not going to drop down into there.
yeah, if all opposition is taken from this place, the whole world would be healed overnight because everything is in opposition with one another. Everything in this realm, introduced as far as I can see. So if that was taken out, no opposition to anything else in this realm. In fact, like in a Buddhist nature, just not connected with it because it's not your experience in this
Mm,
realm.
mm,
Because people seem to want to dominate one another, and they want to impose their will or impose their attitude or their belief system onto other people to a state of being angry if they not listen to for their opinions of what they think or don't think. So it is a tricky line, David. All of it
But it
really.
is, it is. But the thing is because we're so broken, humanity as a whole, this is what you see. As I say to people, if you got 10 dogs, you put 3 dogs worth of food in the cage every day. Those puppies will grow up to be really violent, not very kind of easily tamed. Fortunately, humans are not animals. So always important to make that distinction, because I think some people are still carrying that Darwinian. We're just a slightly improved version of the ape. No, we're not. There are animals, there are plants and bugs and things like that down there, and then there are the man, which is of God, or God's representative, which is absolutely, it's like saying, you're the owner, and now all of a sudden, of the zoo, and all of a sudden all the animals are your equal. No, that's not how it is. I just need to make that point. In my view, we are, and it's important that I stress that, because I think that until we really grasp that and go, shit, we are at the top of the pyramid. It is us that is meant to be at the top, not monarchies, not poperies, not animals, not other things. It is us. So I think this is where we have to realize this truth, and eventually, over time, start to live in a better way in ourselves, and then and perhaps why I know we probably said this a few years ago to each other, but there's little lights all over the map. There's not like this big concentration of people who are seeing this stuff, and even within those lights, it's like, I know from my friends in the flat Earth, it's like we're all coming through that journey at different paces, and some people are ready to kind of move on to other things, like they say in the Illuminati card game. The flat Earth is a card in a deck of 70 or 50, I don't know. So we can't hold on to that one card and think that's the trump, that's the one that's going to save us. We need to keep going, we need digging deeper, because
Ooh.
planet control. Anyway, that's well. No, why I bring that up is because with the electromagnetic theory, a few years ago, I was really like looking at the sun and the moon, Martin, and I realized that I didn't think the sun and moon was, for me, standing in England where I was like, shit, I'm watching in the summer, there I'm watching in the winter. Is someone on the other side of this circle, just say, for example, I'm 2,000 miles from the North Pole. Is someone 2,000 miles further on over the North Pole seeing the same track that I can see? And I just couldn't envisage how this tight this tight summer track could actually be finding, this tight winter track could be finding its way over 2,000 miles to the North Pole and then another 2,000 miles onto the other side. And I was like, I'm not sure I can actually make this work. And then when I started looking at electromagnetic theory, I was like, shit, what if it is like, like an ECG heart monitor kind of thing where you've got a bleep coming across the screen every day, every 24 hours, a new bleep, or the bleep comes across the screen. What if it's all, because for me, propagation tends to happen in a straight line. Sound, light tends to happen in a straight line and is acted upon. So we've allowed a certain kind of, all right, maybe it's the turning forces of a torus or something, the magnetic center or something that's causing the sun to kind of do this and go around it. I'm like, I'm not sure I can make that swing anymore. And as the years have rolled by, I've been more and more thinking that this is another one of those clever controls. And because not all the information is right, you spend a lot of time, you lose a lot of your valuable time trying to dig into these or propagate these theories which we can't verify. And we look like, guys are saying, well, verify what you're theorizing. So firstly, I try and step away from saying, look, I know how the world works. But when I do think about it, I think, yes, this sort of, you've got the East and you've got the West. Now, on a circle map, Mart, you don't actually have an east and west because everywhere's east and everywhere's west. But if you're on a flat map, a wall map, you have an east and you have a west. And the rising sun is where the east is, the land of the rising sun. And perhaps the setting sun is out in where Hawaii is. And we know for sure that the Diomede Islands in the Bering Straits are a hoax. If anyone's not looked into this, you can go on Time and Date and discover that in the Bering Straits, you've got two islands, the Little Diomede and the Big Diomede. One is owned by Russia and the other is owned by America. They are, in fact, 3 miles apart. They're 3 miles apart and the sunrise 5 hours apart. 3 miles apart, sunrise 5 hours apart. Impossible on any of the models that we currently have, whether it be a globe or a round Earth model. So credit to APM Research, actually, for that little tidbit, because it was their team that pulled that information together, or at least brought it to my attention. So the Little and Large Diomede Islands, go and look at that yourself if you're interested. It's a brilliant flat Earth proof, as is the one that I try and tell people whenever it's on my mind, and that is that the moon is rolling in the sky like a coin, and I observe it every time I can see the moon. If you can observe it over 4 to 6, 7 hours, something like that, you will notice that it turns about half the speed of a clock face, the hour hand of a clock face. It actually rolls, and if it's a half moon like this, watch it and realize that the whole lit section of the moon is rolling as it goes past you, as it goes through the sky. Now, that's a globe proof killer, because their idea that it's the shadow of the thing and all this, well, it wouldn't be the light show wouldn't be rolling as it moves from the east, Japan, over to the west, Americas, and so on. Ask a friend who lives in America to say, all right, I'm going to take a photo of the moon at, say, 10 p.m. my time, and 10 p.m. your time, you take a photo of the moon, and let's compare the rotation. You'll see it in a similar position, assuming you're in the same latitudes. But the roll that your friend will see will be at least 45 degrees, if not 90 degrees change from the position.
Yeah, I've done it many times. People send you photographs of the retrograde difference, and it nails it.
Okay, well, there you go. So I just wanted to share that because I love talking about that, because not enough people, in my view, it's one of those things that you can actually see for yourself. I don't accept the mainstream flat Earth assertion that the reason that you see that is because simply it's moved from one side of the hall to the other, because it wouldn't invert. Your mug wouldn't turn itself upside down simply from moving it across the ceiling left to right. So I just throw that in, guys, for your thoughts. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about. I mean, where are you at with Tartaria? I mean, what's going on? I mean, is the dam busting? Yeah, and you guys are gonna break the world open with this
Yeah,
news?
yeah, all that and all of that with bells on at the moment. We're all left this week with our heads spinning, wondering what to make of it all. I'm having sleepless nights, and it's just been
Okay. Okay.
yeah. There's been a funny vibration. I sort of did the same as you. I tried to do a little bug out coming up to Christmas.
Yeah.
I was feeling really off about things, and that's not me. I'm always eternally optimistic, and I was just feeling like I kept getting flattened, like I am now in my dream state. I keep getting blocked from, I get like downloads, and I'm like blocked from this puzzle, and the puzzle pieces are all over the place, and I'm like pulling them all in. I'm reading it, and then it's like, no, that's not it, and then it's all, and I just replicating all night. It's been like weeks. So I shot off, and I got stayed in a friend's place in Devon. It was lovely. Home of the Sea Kings, isn't it, Devon, where the rich elites and pirates and smugglers all settled.
And they've been a clear area up until recently. Now they're being hit with, oh, you've got it too.
Everything was open. Everything was open. Christmas bars, still all the craziness going on, but you can, duck and dive with all of that. But they were a lot more obeying than they were in the city of Cardiff. I'm left to just act myself where I live, and nobody's going to ever bug me. But there, it was like I look different anyway, and it's like everyone's looking at you gone off or not. But nice enough people, but never had the only conversation I had was with an Iraqi guy in a shop that was working. I thought, well, that makes sense actually. So yeah, really nice place, but it was really off.
It wasn't right for you. Mm-hmm.
Not right for me, but I like to test the ground, and with off-grid living, I found what I can make a man cave anywhere, David. Okay, and I've proved this many times in my life when I've shot off, lived different countries in the Merchant Navy, what have you. I've lived all over, so I'm okay with that. But I put it into the test now for the 21st century pandemic. So I went away with my son on holidays. We did everything the establishment would want us doing. We're just having a fantastic time.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
exactly what we should be doing right now, as much as possible.
Correct. So yeah, we had a real good time. But
yeah, go on.
No. I need Martin things. So that would be an adequate broadband connection, so I can do flat Earth communication. Otherwise, all greedy for my community because I love them all. And then Martin needs smokables as well. So these small towns.
I was fortunate enough to be able to grow a bit of my own in Portugal, so I haven't come back with a drought.
So, Portugal. No, I had friends phone me maybe 6 weeks ago, and people who were on the Globe Tour bus on the Truth Tour after. So they all came back. When they came to Cardiff, pretty much the same as what you did on the Globe Light Tour. I brought them all back here, so we all had a big meal and a nice drink and a relax. They shot off then to Swansea in their bus. But two of the people who were on there, they told me they were in Portugal, and they were like, is there any truthers? We're like out on a limb driving down the motorway. And I was like, well, there is David Mantle, and I have been offered land in Portugal thrice now, recently, David, only a few weeks ago. Look at this, Matt, get out here. But David, until I know, where we stand, because everyone's, what is going on. Nobody can say they know exactly what's going on. They'd be lying. So we have to wait.
I think, Martin, the thing about your energy, everybody listening, your energy at the moment is super important. And perhaps if you've been doing a lot of the clearing work of the shit that we've been impregnated with, then you're going to be more in tune with it. You see, I think that the desensitization, it was that we wouldn't be able to receive something good. So people are talking a lot about having lightheadedness and kind of strangey feelings. And we think perhaps what they were doing with the corona thing was to try and bury what people would natural experiences people would be going through if there was an energetic upgrade. That some people would be like, I'm feeling really weird. They didn't want to tell you that. They go, oh, well, you're one of those people. So we'll have,
It's happening. It's happening.
So I think protect that. I think honor that and protect that, and give yourself time for that. I think one of the things Portugal gave me was a lot more downtime. I was far away from a lot of interruptions or distractions or all the news and all that. I was away from a lot of that, and also doing something that I think we should all be doing, particularly men, and that is being physical. Maybe not so much in the winter months. I think we're meant to rest in the winter and eat warm food and so on. But as the spring approaches, be thinking about getting to parks and running and digging and doing physical stuff. I'm planning. I think one of the things that I'd like to do in the future, something I've been wanting to do for some years, is to run these like woodcutter weeks for men, where men can come and be real men again, because a lot of the damaging of our system has been to pussify us. And what I've loved in the last, say, 20 years of my, because obviously, I lived in the Wild West growing up as a kid, and the war and all of that. But in London, you slowly become softened and molded into the kind of thing, So in the years, particularly when I started doing the gardening, I mean, my hands were just blistered and cut, and for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. And I loved that, actually. It was, I felt in my body. I haven't been in a gym in 6 years or something. My body didn't need that because I'm being physical. We need the physical, and of course they've closed the gyms, and they may stay closed. Anyway, so I think that men are going to need remanning, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I don't mean any of this. And where you live right now, to me, I don't think that matters so much as where you are in your heart. God or creator or spirit or source or whatever, I think is here inside of you. So if you nurture that, if you love that, you're doing the right thing, no matter what's coming, no matter where you are. This is my truth. I think that's most important. But going forward, once we start to kind of get our, as you say, all the dominoes have fallen, and we start to kind of pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off, we're like, okay, so what are we going to do with this? Are we just going to quietly start paying our taxes and go along? And no. Men need, the divine feminine is rising through the Aquarian age, as I think, and the divine masculine has been so badly traduced, as has the feminine, that he doesn't really know what his divine place is. He thinks he's meant to be a Call of Duty hero. You know what I'm saying? And I have a medal for heroism in war. So I'm not saying that this from a position of fear. I'm saying that I don't think that's absolutely not what we should be doing with our young men. They're completely beaten by that stage. By the time you're killing other humans, you are completely broken. So that's why there's so much PTSD. That's why there's so many mental health issues. That's just one of many things that men need to start to unpick and women, if we're ever going to return to a divine place, and a divine place of honoring the female in her right place as like the intuit. She is meant to, if she's clean, if she's not full of toxins and mind toxins, she is able to sense what's going on and say, I feel these things. The ancient village, a woman, when she was at her prime of insight, was when she was menstruating. The woman would go away into the hut there, and they'd spend a few days together and talk and think and what have you. They'd come back and tell the warriors what was going down, what they needed to do, where things were at. And that was the kind of the right balance, The woman sort of, but not today's woman, not Angela Merkel, not the woman who wants to be on top of the boardroom. This is a man woman, This is not where we want. This is not the kind of woman that I'm thinking of when divine feminine. So this is what we have to. I think this is what we have to aspire to, and not be caught up with they're going to fuck us up. This complete, this system has got us all. They haven't. There's so many of us that are awake. We may be small as a percentage, but we have so much power. The light in one tiny candle in a dark room.
Millions of us. Millions and millions and millions of truthers worldwide, Dave. We just keep everyone separate, through, all of the, the platforms that have been dropping and stuff. They're all still there.
Mm.
You know, you just
Well, yes, but this has been my learning. I mean, I met some great people when I was in Portugal, expats, and some of them have been living off the grid for many years. But actually, in truth, I mean, to sound kindly, they still carry with them most of the programs. Most of the programs that we got between the age of 0 and 7, and then to 20 years,
yeah,
all of the, many of those programs still kind of jingle jangle around, and people still operate under the basis of, we're either from Darwin or we're something less, or whatever. None of this kind of divine. Wow, do you realize what we are, who you are, and what this place is, and what it's meant to be? How can you? You were lied to for the very reason that you should never find out. But if you're not prepared to expose those lies and confront those lies, then they will work. They have to work. They were designed to work, I can assure you. You may have a very satisfying life off grid, but really it's not about where you live on this plane. It's about where you live. The heart is the earth. This is the earth that you're meant to kind of have in neutral, in balance. And if the man, I should say, or the living man and woman gets it in balance, then the world around becomes more in balance, Mark. And so that's why I think, for me, I've had to step away from activism, because you can't speak out now too much. But that time will change. And of course, as you say, there are millions of truthers. And for me, even if it's those people only that also need to kind of be helped along this journey, because I can see my own. I was a late starter, really, but I've kind of kept moving up the classes, and realizing that I have to help my friends who just want to stay stuck in class A, class B, or class C, and realize that you need to have all the classes together, the Trinity. You have to have all of the knowledge if you're ever going to kind of achieve that divine sovereignty. I'm still working on that. I'm not saying I'm there, but I know that that's the trajectory that I want to take myself on, and perhaps to bring others. Eventually, that light becomes a storm that changes the whole world. Dukes has never worn a mask, not once, not ever. I have worn a mask, Dukes. Truthfully, I went on a plane, and I went on a ship where I briefly wore one on the plane. Here's a funny story. On the plane, you can get away without the mask if you're having a drink, right? So both in the waiting room at the airport, I was eating and drinking the whole time, obviously. And on the plane, I was drinking for the 2-and-a-bit-hour flight out to France, and the coffee. I didn't want to spend money. We bought one between us, Andrea and I, £2.50 or whatever. And I'm sharing this. I'm 2 hours into the flight, and I'm still nursing this coffee. And I take a sip like this. I take a sip, and it falls in my lap. The cup falls in my lap. But because it was empty, a long time ago, the guy said to me, guy sitting next to me said, "Good thing it was empty, mate." But that I have worn a mask and once in a shop. But truthfully, I don't want to be all heroic, because when we were in Portugal, there was no way in the supermarkets to get without the mask. And Andrea did the shopping. She took the hit for me in that respect. So I'm no big hero when it comes to that. In Portugal, I couldn't get away with it. But since we've been back in England, and every time I've been back in England, I've not complied with any request to muzzle myself. And long may that continue. I have spoken to people in the shops about that, and generally, if you take a pleasant and cool demeanor, they're going to walk away very quickly. You realize the system at this point in time doesn't have as much power as it likes. As you said, you go around the streets, it's free movement, and that was what my experience was driving around in the first lockdown and moving around in that first lockdown. Exactly. The streets were just empty, but it was free. Go wherever you like. I know the police are programmed now to take a much harder response on activism. I'm watching some of those channels, and it does anger me at times. But I do need to face that and realize that the police are simply guys doing their job, caught up in a program just like we were, but a different program. And it's hard to break that program. And I don't want to put myself in a situation where they are empowered to take my liberty as much as I can. They're thoughtless. When they raided my house in 2018, looking for a few plants, they're not going to hear the stuff that we know about our sovereignty and stuff like that. and thank you for this. I forget your name. Someone sent me a really long comment the other day, which is 2 or 3 videos ago. Really interesting stuff, useful stuff on becoming a what's the word? Where you become a trust, or like so that when, I think it was really kind of to help Robin out, actually, because poor old Robin Campbell, he's having a right time of it, after being arrested a while ago and in court the other day, and they completely pissed on him, and charged him £1,750 for being outside,
Right.
and they changed the charge actually in the court case as he went into it. So, but it's their court, and whenever you play in their court, you're playing to their rules, and it's never going to benefit you. But there are ways of us learning and becoming these independent trusts that cannot be acted on in the legal format in the way that they're done with a birth certificate. And as you might remember, Alexander, the little one, he doesn't have a birth certificate. So I'm hoping to be able to use, if not for myself, for his self, to be able to use his free man status, if that's the right way to call it, to help him do the things that he's going to need to do to be the light that I pass on. Because people may not know this, but he was very much a product of Flat Earth, Alexander, because by the time I'd realized all of the lies about pharmacy and all this sort of stuff, and then I found out about Flat Earth, and my world kind of imploded, and I had the DMT experience a few weeks before that. So I was like, we're nothing like they ever told us, and the whole way we raise our children was a lie, and we need to do it again. We have to try again, or not have to try again. We're going to clean up, detoxify, go off birth control, whatever, no more chemicals. Take some, some chelation, try and pull the heavy dirt out of us. And then if we fall pregnant, we fall pregnant. If she does, she does. And there you go, so in 2016 she did. And, he's my Flat Earth baby. I just used to say that in the early days. And, because I knew that I had brainwashed my children in the form of brainwashing that I had. No foul. Religious people do it every day. Science people do it every day. People, that's just the way it is. Cultural things. We do this. We sever this part of your body off when you're born. All this crap. So no foul. But that was the soup that I came from, and I've been obviously, I've been trying to steer Alexander, or to offer him a life that is freer of the boundaries that we were all given, and certainly freer of the toxification.
Look at the countries he's seen by his age now, your little boy. He's been everywhere. I was looking at him last week running up them steps in Portugal, thinking how free he is compared to other kids in Britain. He just goes everywhere, all over the world, walking in Rome, or in
Venice.
Venice. Fantastic for this little boy's experience in life. I can't imagine his outlook when he's older. It's fantastic.
Well, absolutely, but we're I mean, in a way, we've got these early 7 years of our life where the Catholic Church says, give me the boy till 7 and I'll give you the man. Well, so I think these are very foundational years. We know that things work in cycles of 7. So this is a very, very important time. We have obviously for 14, 15 months had him out of his stable home environment that he was born in. So he has had a slew of incredible experiences over the last period of time. But I'd like to think he's coming through stronger for it, and this is, some people say you choose your parents before you come, and
that's what it says in the book of the text, indeed, yeah.
So so I have to assuage my kind of feelings of I've destabilized this young man, because actually there were things that he was starting to do as we moved out of Good Heart Way that has taken him a year or so to reclaim, because there were certain things that routines and stability that they had that went away. But this is going on for everybody. We are all being intentionally.
We all got to use change, haven't we? We can't just be all sat with our comfort blankets thinking everything's going to be a-okay, because it's just not going to be.
It's not. It's not. But like Alexander is gaining so much, and obviously when you're very young you don't really remember things, but he's gaining so much.
You do. I was just like Alexandra when I was a kid. I was on my father's ship. We were always traveling about. I never was in once. I never knew what I was waiting at. It was an incredible childhood. And when you look back, all I ever think is, wow, how fantastic everything was. And you do really Even when I was really little, I still remember when I was Alexander's age, I remember quite vividly, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's brilliant. And you will remember.
Definitely shaped you. I'm sure that kind of childhood shaped your curiosity.
Well, no, I was a bit
out the
different
box
to
thinking.
everyone else. Like, I was a bit different to you as well, David. Listening to you, I thought, Christ, you got on a bit late in life for everything. Like I was, when I look back, I was self-analyzing myself last night. I was thinking, and this word that keeps coming, I was thinking, whatever possessed me? And I'm thinking, it was like that. Sometimes, I have this, this very carnage Martin just appear all of a sudden, which I seemingly had no control over. And, but I've got a hang on it now, David. I've got a real hang on it now. It's doing really well. Yeah.
Well,
I heard it the other day as well. I heard this, an argument with my psyche, this parasitical form coming in and trying to hit me up with a load of bullshit. And I was like, hang on a minute. Where did that come from? Why am I thinking that? That's just crap. If I focus on that, things are going to turn up terribly. So I'm not going to be doing that. Go away. Chase it away. And I did, and it worked. So,
well, this is what we wonder, because like with Alexander, his life experience gives him certain insights, but it also brings him certain challenges. And so because he has to, say, challenge himself to walk up a flight of stairs, he will get better at doing that every time. When we lived in the double-decker bus, a double-decker bus, he had to go up to the bed every night, right? And the stairs are like yay wide. Half his height, and he was learning to climb up these super high stairs, and we just got better and better and better at it. So what's happening in the world today is that some of our kind of our shadows, some of our dark stuff is being presented to us, and it's giving us that opportunity to say, hey, I actually can confront this stuff. And funny enough, Andrea had a really warm conversation with Luke and I this morning. She's like, you know what, guys, I just want to share something with you. I'm sorry for over the years that this is how I've been, and this is how I've reacted in this particular way. And it was dealing with my inner child, my certain inner child that hadn't been wounded. And she's finding, me too, but she's finding really strongly at the moment, she's able to confront a lot of that kind of hidden historic baggage, the stuff, the wake. I
never really grew up, I don't think, now I'm thinking about it, David. I don't think I actually grew up. I've always been mature. I was mature when I was in high school, mature in thinking and stuff. But I mean, my childish, naughty behavioural patterns don't seem to have gone in my middle ages.
Well, I think there's some people that aren't designed to fall in line.
Well, this Rona is really got no sense of humour. And I was wondering if we were all waiting for the punchline or something, because I'm not getting this joke. It's not funny at all.
Yeah.
Maybe humour.
That's why we've got to see this as a test and not like a beating, because we are infinite beings. We are absolutely powerful. On the DMT, I was connected immediately to this sort of, let's say, my higher self, some other being of such immensity. I went into this complete non-accepting any of this. And this higher self was so infinitely powerful that there was nothing on earth that could harm this sleeping giant that I was connected to. Massive, like Egyptian sarcophagus, not sarcophagus, like the Tutankhamun. It was like a dude like that. And I'm connected to this. He's peacefully lying there, and absolute love coming from him. And I'm connected to this being who I think is then connected to God or all source or creator or whatever. So that's what we're all connected to. I knew this. It was like, this isn't just me. This is all of us. But there's a trick being played. And are you up for the game? And now we are in the final furlough. Are you going to fall for the tricks and this frightening stuff that they're trying to throw on you? Fuck that. This is where we have to be strong in our knowledge of what we are, who we are, and we get this by
things are showing. I'm getting the hang of what we are. Obviously, things are showing to us about what we are. In this place and our true position in this realm. So, when everybody awakes to that, then there is no going back. It would be everything that everyone desires in this place, which is to live safely, left the fuck alone. And sovereign, I'm not even sure if I like using that word, the Queen uses it, but a free entity, a free person in this realm, and to be left alone, and not just be, not cattle anymore. That's what everyone wants. But let me hit you up with explosion theory. Have you heard this one? explosion theory. This is one of Lee's ideas, coupled in with some of my ideas. Do you want to hear it?
Please go ahead, brother. I'm all ears.
So Lee thinks we're upside down because gravity obviously is bullshit. You know, it's probably electromagnetic based ether tech, whatever, but it's not there. So he's thinking, you know, bats are hanging up the right way, you know, and flies when they're dying, they're up the right way, and you know, when petals or nectar flies upwards, the same as water vapor to collect as clouds. It's not actually rising up, but it's actually falling away. So he's thinking that, you know, that at some stage, with coupled with the electromagnetic model, although he's going to think that the four corners or the four angels are actually in the center, which sort of resonates a little bit for some reason, some weird reason. So then there's some sort of flippage. And what the way he explains the explosion theory is, if you're going to map this pressure or these waves that come through, now we can't miss the sun has changed. You can't miss the environmental differences. So there's something afoot. Okay. Yeah. So, and that's obvious. Since my childhood, we were in a completely different weather place. You know, this is not what I grew up with. So, with the screwing down, if you like, idea of the pressure increasing, like on a spring, and then having to release, he thinks that it would cause some. If you picture a nuclear mushroom cloud, okay, over Mount Meru, causing a sucking effect, which would cause the entire plate or plane to tip up the right way. But he also thinks that we're in a ship, okay, or a submarine to be precise, which I'm also thinking along these lines. And you know, this makes sense of the Tower of Babel. Like, think Poseidon adventure, okay, a capsized ship, okay, lost at sea, okay, the bottom of a giant ocean, okay, because you know this place may seem infinitely big, but we don't know how big things are outside, so we're just going on our frame of reference. Things, the lands of giants are infinitely big. And the Tower of Babel was an effort to get out of the dome itch, so to speak. Why is the sky blue? Because it's water. Well, why can't we see a hull of a ship? Because they are using a glass-bottomed hull. So there's all sorts of ideas going around at the moment. The Phoenicians no longer. We think we think they were more in line of. We shoot them with the crows because they went along with the narrative. They seem to have been the rowmen, so rowing the ships in the first place. So they were slave class, if you like, but they were definitely, a large part, because you can, what we got to be careful is I got to be careful what I say on my next couple of posts. Some things I have learned because of the nature of the topic. People want to point fingers to a certain people in this realm. Okay, which I ain't doing in any peoples, because I think there's only one of us here. And we're all the same people, or the same person. I recognise myself in every stranger's eyes, sort of thing. So I'm not doing that, but people do. So I got to be careful. But the whole narrative seems to have changed dramatically in the last, say, 2 weeks, to the point where I've lost 2 of my channels. For the next 3 months. I've got one and a backup left, so I'm okay, but I have to tread carefully. The weird thing is, I can put a video into one of my videos, slip in something, a real killer, maybe about Rona, maybe a doctor mentioning, the hazards of nanoparticles in vacuum, etc. But I can slip that into my video. YouTube haven't got no problem with letting that slide through with no problems whatsoever. Fully monetized everything, let it slide. But if I say that there might be possibility of warm outer lands or other land, which I think has all been about anyway, in this Noah's Ark, if you like, I'm sort of thinking these narratives they put down and say, in the far off distant past, maybe it's just a guideline for our exact circumstances in reality. In this realm, we could be actually in a submarine, we could be in Noah's Ark itself. How big is an ark, David? We could be the survivors of a giant flood. And when they show us all of these depictions of the falling classical world in all of these depictions we see from the Middle Ages, we could be looking at that world falling because the Great Flood that we're survivors of. I think he's dropped out there, David. He will come back in. Anyway, big shout to Mel, Jazz Soldier One, who's in chat, Decina, and Joe Mama. A big love your mama too.
Thanks for
Oh,
coming.
really? You got a good crowd in you, David. It's all my
Oh,
friends.
nice to hear it. I can't see from here what the.
Yeah,
I,
121 in your chattage. Squirrel Sniper, who is Squiz, who is patrolling your chat very professionally. And there is Chat Soldier Mel. You know her, you met her. And Nicholas, who is, I think, in Glastonbury.
yes.
Yes,
I've
I was
spent some
there.
time
I was
there.
there, Nick, about a month back. I went and looked at your lovely, cool town. God, it was fab. Tricky who?
I'm trying to. I'm
Bring
trying
up your
to
champagne.
remove. I set up another.
This ceiling fan man you were just talking about,
Yeah.
who got troubles. Hey, ceiling fan man, Mr. Mensa. Sorry to shout your chat, but they're all there.
Do you do you know Richard Stephen Fan?
No, I've seen him about, like, I've heard about him, but I don't
I've
know.
had a couple of good chats with him. He's a really good guy, and he's really interested in the Tataria kind of stuff. I'm not sure how deep he's gone, but am I echoing now?
Little tiny bit, you're all right though.
No, I tried to set up a second stream for myself because, guys, this is only my second time doing this, but I wanted to show you something more to share my thoughts on how I think the world is set up and why I think that the concave theories, convex theories, and so on both hold within them some of the elements of truth of how this all works. So I don't argue
You're right.
against that, but
Right
it's so
in that
important.
bit.
I don't know how I can get to share with you something, but maybe you could pull it up on your screen.
Oh, just on the bottom, just click your square screen, click the upper one. If you want volume, make sure to click that little volume window, and then it'll just. If you put us two over to the side though, on the settings at the bottom of your black box, you
Yeah.
see two,
Oops.
and then then the two of us will be on the side of the.
That one. Well, it doesn't seem. Oh, because I haven't got a share screen running, I guess it's not
It,
wanting to show it up.
yeah, I got stuff I can show you.
Because no, I wanted to. I don't know how to do this for you guys. I'm really sorry, but but for me, when you look at electromagnetic theory and how magnets work in what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, let me share some screen for you.
But yeah, if you can pull up a Torus.
Yeah, man.
TORUS, the Torus.
No, I got my ones. I'll show you now.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay. These are from The Greatest Secret Never Told, where I did a series concerning the whole idea of the electromagnetic model. There's a double torus.
There you go.
Can you see that up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is brilliant. Thank you. So what I suggest to people is that you've got two torus fields sitting on top of each other, like you do in the top left image. And in between those two, you have the Goldilocks zone, the neutral zone between the red and the blue. I like that the top one is alternating red and blue, and the bottom one is alternating red and blue. I think this is an important part of how the electromagnetic system works, is these variations. But you can actually take a lot of the important symbolism in our world from these images here. I did a presentation on it, the McDonald's logo, the Gucci logo, the Under Armour logo. There's so many hidden within there. Now, if you take your eyes around the outside of the two torus fields that you see in the left box, you can inscribe a 3
and a 3
and a reverse 3 on either side.
You also, bring them together, 33. I've pulled hundreds of these.
It's 33.
Yeah,
but when you bring the 33 together in backwards, you actually get 8. Or the infinity.
It's 88, which was the original number of the Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. So, and the Mickey Mouse ears, you know, I can show you so many logos inside of that when you break it down.
Yeah.
But the point I wanted to make is that you've got 3 separate parts to this. You've got the top part, you've got the bottom, the torus, and you have this third, or the trinity, encapsulating the 2. And that capsule is meant to be the neutral place, the earth, the balanced place. And what I think is happening, or has happened, is that there is an imbalance. Maybe it's a natural imbalance that the negative or the dark or the lower, the Satan or whatever you want, is in ascendance. And then there's a pole shift in which one of these or both of them flip, and then naturally there's a return to a more balanced or harmonious energy on Earth. So this is how I think it's working. I think with the 4 gates, you actually can plot 4 gates on this kind of layout. You could say that, like in I think it's the book of that popular one that was taken out of the Bible. Everyone quotes from it.
Thomas.
Sorry?
Book of Thomas?
No, the one that spoke so much about flat Earth.
You're on about oh God, I got a mental block now as well.
Yeah. Anyway, the people will know in the chat. But what I'm talking about, what they talk about is gates in the skies.
Enoch, Book of Enoch. My brain's back. Thank you.
Thank you. There's gates. So I think there's more than 4 gates. And angels are angles. There are things coming in at different angles, energies coming in at different angles. You'll know from your years on the sea that when you go to a different place in the world, like, oh, well, we always have the northeaster here or the southwester there or whatever, and winds are always coming from one or 2 primary directions. And the same is true with the oceans. I've stood on Cape Point, the last land of Africa, where you've got 2 great oceans meeting. You've got the Indian and the Atlantic coming together. And I promise you, one day, long before I was into Flat Earth, I went down there and found that the 2 oceans, it was a particularly calm day, the 2 oceans were as clear as night and day. There was a light ocean and a dark ocean, and a line as far as I could see into the flat horizon. There was these 2 oceans rubbing side by side, and one is heading down the east coast of Africa, and the other is coming up from whatever's below Africa. One is dirty and warm coming down, having cycled around India and down the coast of Africa, and one is cold, fresh, clean, coming up from the south. So there's definitely a pumping system in place. I think this can be shown quite.
I would say so.
I love that one. That was one of my first. I think it's Darling or somewhere in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, it's at the park in Sydney, and this guy absolutely nailed it with the Technasgia lines. But it sort of suggests other land as well, because people have noticed that in the Technasgia lines, this way, you can see Besca piscus, the basically the fish here, see it, or the eye.
Okay.
And this would be the eyeball, the pupil, this way.
Yes.
So that would suggest that either side of this, maybe that's with the fish, is all of these places, like he's actually showing you the extra land outside.
Yes.
Yes.
So I tell you why. Now you bring that up. Go back an image.
Sorry.
The axe.
Yeah, the
axe. It encodes these exact same Taurus energies that I've just been describing. Now, because the axe that you see there is the center or neutral, that 3. And the arms of the axe sort of bend round, the horns of the axe would bend round, and the 2 Tauruses would be sitting with under and above that. And I went on to decode that because, we call that Thor's axe. And your thorax is at the center of your body. And your thorax breaks down to Taurus. And I'm going to spell it because the last time I said it, I got bleeped out. But you're a female CLITORS.
All right, we got it.
Has the word Taurus in it. You see, so I think that they're telling us.
Yes.
Taurus. So we I think are a series of Tauruses, and when they joke about, you think you live on the back of a tortoise, that's a Taurus. So the whole world is like, in my view anyway, is like this big egg, and then we're inside that on the center place, and when the energy fires from the east place to the west, then it kind of goes, over or across this domed or oblate spheroid, which is what a typical Taurus looks like, by the way. This oblate spheroid, and I will, for those that are into their research, if you look into WMAP, It is a mainstream science
Yeah, sure.
background radiation thing. More access, yeah, more.
I have that.
And the WMAP comes out every year, and they do this background radiation. Firstly, it shows that Earth is at the center of this WMAP, and around you, you have what they say is dark dots of galaxies,
Yeah.
and it forms an oblate spheroid. So I think what we can measure is probably going to be something in the oblate spheroid region. But does our physical world adhere to the dome and all of that physical stuff that we're so impregnated with, Martin? Because if you think about fluid dynamics, gases, and so on, they always settle in strata. So for me, it's likely to be that things are in our world are layered. And when I travel far from the equator, either south or north, I find very cold, uninviting lands. Now, I was totally on side with the early flat Earth kind of. This is just a long sheet of ice with suns in it, and they're all burning their own little circles and so on. I went along with that, and maybe that's true. I'm not going to say this is absolute, and every other theory is not acceptable. No, it's not about that. It's just offering other ideas based on the evidence of the electromagnetic system, the torus field information, the on the ground experience of what I just described. Weather gets colder and less pleasant the further away from the equator you get. So in my view, in the world that we know and we can explore, the area that we call Antarctica, Siberia, the Scandinavian, like Lapland and all of that, I would say those are the northern reaches, the coldest. It gets really unpleasant 1,000 miles in from that. Similarly, down south below South Africa, below New Zealand, South America, the land becomes very uninhabitable, very difficult. I think Admiral Byrd saying that there was land down there beyond Middle America, is that psyop? Possibly, in my view now. So I think that there's land, but it's likely that the land extends east and west, and even within what we call the Antarctic region, or sorry, the Pacific Ocean, there could be land that we don't know about. I accept that, but primarily I would say that I think, and here's an even further reach for people to consider. Imagine if the sun that we see in Japan that leaves Hawaii or thereabouts 24 hours later is actually a sun that has been traveling an infinite distance from a place in which there was a pulse every 24 hours, and it just pulsed a heartbeat of this system, if you like. If this beast, this thing that we might be living inside of, might be having a daily heartbeat that fires across a distance that the scientists would be pleased with, like millions and billions and infinitely far away. I'm not saying it is this, but I just say that we've been given a start point in Japan and an end point in Hawaii, and I'm not sure that that's the extent of the world that we live on.
No, man. No, there's something anomalous going on where the international date line is. There's no doubt about that. There's a couple of islands there doing funny things as well with distances, but it doesn't matter anyway, because we don't cover this realm, and nobody does. It boggles my mind how they even did cartography to this place, or they just present the world as it is. We take it, and there's more. In my mind, there's more. They did the same thing in the Middle Ages. They presented the world without America, but America was there, wasn't it? But they weren't telling people in Europe pre Columbus. So it's what they present.
Go see that X, Mark. Go see that X. The X is everywhere, right?
Well, this is the X code, isn't it? This is the X code. They even give it to you on Trump's voting thing. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Is that what's his name? That last picture,
Obama.
Barack Osama.
And then all the players will do the X code. What's his name? Beck's wife. Can't remember her name. And Will I Am. So the X code is them. The Freemasonic order telling you they don't know what the shape of the place is. You know, everything in this place adheres to the torus. You know, animals. You know, my friend's dog will turn a circle before it lays down, and cats do it as well. They will do a, find their torus. The sheep's horns and antlers will adhere to the torus nature of this place. So,
And how about this, Maud? Have you, I think of the air around me as ether now.
yes, sure.
And for me, it's an electromagnetic soup through which I'm able to move.
Yes.
I think that my lungs are possibly having an electric spark from the moisture in
Yes.
the air, and that's what's powering my body. Those are some of my thoughts on that. But in terms of the ether, I wanted to make a point to you.
See that again, with the two opposing toroidals on this flag here, like you just said, with the 3 and the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 33 or connected if it goes an 8.
Yeah.
And you
well,
just
the 33 again. If you invert the 33.
Yeah. The apple.
Yeah, the apple is us. I think the torus field that's an oblique spheroid right there.
Yeah.
And with sorry, I've gone off my thread there.
You're fine.
But yeah, I mean, there's the yin and yang, and of course, that's the nature of this world, is they want to keep us in a black and white separation. But the line between those two is where the balance is. That's where the earth is. Oh, so yeah. So I see the ether as this electromagnetic soup in which we dwell.
This also suggests small land as well, because it gives you the flower of life in the centre. It gives you the cross, so the inertia plane, Mount Meru south, stopping here where we'd expect, and then all of this extraness going on. So they do it in this,
Yeah, so, I mean, two things I want to say quickly. One is when I was looking at this Channel APM research, shout out to all of them, and they work on the electromagnetic setup. When they run flow lines through the system, all of a sudden you start seeing these X shapes, swastikas, the Union Jack. These shapes are all actually encoded in the electromagnetic system. So I think that's one of the most important things that are hiding from us, because it means that this reality isn't material, and it isn't anything like they've taught us. So this, chasing after coins, being put into a state of scarcity and fear. These things are all designed to affect your vibration, so that your vibration, your light, can never vibrate at the right frequency. Now, you would have looked into sonoluminescence and how putting a vibration, Dr. Emoto, all of this, your swastika, Dr. Emoto, all of that stuff.
That can happen to us, David. That can happen to us. If we find that sound or that vibration, we can basically illuminate like a Steiner Jack.
Absolutely, if you get the right frequency, you see how the shape is cloudy, it's not well if you don't get the frequency right. And this is where we're all at, because our frequency is wrong. We present with a lot of dis-ease.
Nature shows the torus.
There's your torus. There's your double torus with the accretion layer.
Nature shows it.
Zone in between.
With the lucky
and it's the 6, the 9, the feminine, and the 3, the heart. The heart shape is
also
designed with the 3 on the top.
The Brian also, 2 opposing toruses. You can take this all the way down to the supposed atom. If you don't think
it's all toroidal, all the way through, and it's all fractal,
and all the way up to the structure that we live in.
And so it comes at this low level from something at the very highest level, which is what we're all connected to, in frequency. So we're in a place of bad frequency. We think that the human resonance is altering because the frequency of the dynamics or the machinery that runs this place is altering in line with this cyclical star pattern stuff that we see going on of us. So that's, I think, where the world is moving to. We'll see how it actually plays out in reality. But yeah, that kind of diagram is very indicative of how I think the world is actually made up. It's very powerful, but it does take a while to set aside. And actually, a lot of the religious information encodes much of this truth.
It does. It does. It definitely does.
They've been hiding
Right.
that. Yes,
You mentioned the
that
Union
image.
Jack.
Now, I wanted to um, put something to you. Obviously, I know you've made a big stable out of the stuff that we generally share in common. But one of the things I started to concern myself with was like the Mount Meru story,
Mm.
because like we've never seen a photo yet of a big black rock, magnetic rock. We've
No.
never seen evidence that compasses work more powerfully in England than they do, say, in South Africa, which is thousands of miles further away from a magnet. And we know that magnets work by range. So, are we sure that this isn't one of those things that has been fed to us as a misdirection? And again, for me, would a clever creator create an Eden in a place like Sweden,
Mm.
um, or Edenmark, or Nederland, which, by the way, is Eden? The first four letters are Eden backwards.
Mm.
Or is that just clever encoding? Because you've got to wear a lot of clothes in Finland, right?
Yeah.
But the story we're told is that it was like all fruit and naked and all that stuff, right? I'd rather have that than the Swedish thing. So that was some of the stuff that concerned me. And then I'm looking at, like no trees on flat Earth, and love Kilimanjaro. Having spent so much of my life in Africa, and I'm looking at Kilimanjaro, and I'm finding some strange coincidences. Like the highest peak on Kilimanjaro shares almost the same name as Uluru. The old red rock in
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Australia. So you've got Uluru in Australia. You've got Uhuru on the top of Kilimanjaro. And these are meant to be cultures that never had any kind of connection with each other. These names have significant value. But here's why I'm telling you the story. On Google Earth, you can go and find for yourself, just in the foothills of the Kilimanjaro mountain, you can find Mount Meru. And it is a massive black volcanic mountain. And
Oh.
the people there's another mountain nearby called Mountain of the Gods. The people there they're actually the Meru people. And they have a long culture and a long story of having lived around there forever. They
Wow.
tell a story a little bit like Enoch, and the Jews, or the current contemporary sort of story of the Jews is that they took their story down to the Meru people. But the
Right.
Meru people, I believe from my research a few years ago, say that they took the knowledge up the Nile, up out of Africa.
Uh-huh.
So, it
I've
was interesting. I thought, oh wow, is Meru right there? It's only a degree or two off the equator. To me, the center of I was still thinking in terms of the sun going around a circular point. So to me, the center makes more sense where the weather is best, not where it's coldest. And so where was I heading with that? Was that the guys in APM research then started laying their electromagnetic grid down, and their center point, the center of the Union Jack, is just off Africa and a little bit perhaps above the equator. So I offer that to you and to your research community because I think there's something valuable in that, and it's
No,
definitely
it's a help. No, we've
with
been looking along those lines this week. Last week I talked about the navel of the world, and I thought it might be a clue to the shape of this place. And it was sort of located off the coast of West Africa.
no.
Yeah, yeah,
That's about where they have it.
yeah. So there's a sink, and that was only 2 vlogs ago, David. I did that.
Yeah, because if you
Yeah.
think about a time before there were factories and McDonald's, then the best place to live is a place where there is an abundance of weather such that the trees are laden with fruit and that there are more than enough animals for whatever it needs. So that makes sense to me logically. Yes, we could say that the sun's track has moved on to different equators on the flat Earth and have different tracks in over history, and maybe that's true.
Mm.
But in the world that we live in today, and what I can test for myself, then the areas inside of the tropics generally the best weather areas, and the areas outside of the tropics, it starts getting a little bit gritty. You need Gore-Tex, you need, man-made stuff to give you. I know people did it without that, animal skins and so on. But the point is that
Sure.
I wouldn't set it up in Scotland if I was, to choose. It would be somewhere where the weather was, more enjoyable all year round. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on that. I hope it's useful.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been kind of, thinking along these lines for a good while. So it has not been without looking at all the options that are out there. And of course, I don't take this one and push another one off the table so much as to say that this one just makes the most sense to me right now. And I think that if we have been fed Gleasons and things like that, then it must be for a reason.
I think the same. So I discard it all. Can't
But
prove
yeah,
anything.
I think one of the most important things with all of this is that, like, maybe it doesn't matter so much exactly the shape of this place, although we're always going to be curious and always perhaps going to be searching for that. That's the nature of our being, but that we're not vexated by it. I am concerned that people are caught up perhaps in various levels of indoctrination. But I could say that about my dad, who's all the way back in class 1. And I could say that about someone who's a flat earther who's in class 5, who hasn't yet moved on to class 7. So I don't really want to be passing judgment or getting into arguments with people about where they're at, because I realize that to protect my energy, I need to come at this all from love and say, this is
100%.
what I see. You see that? That's cool. You don't? That's cool too. I love you, and I want to love myself enough not to sort of get caught up in the traps that have been laid for us by the system.
100%.
Setting everybody up with, wow, some of us with great knowledge, and then what do? We're either, I used to say this to Andrea in the early days of Speaker's Corner, I'd go, am I actually doing the system's work for them? Am I creating the argument? Am I creating the disturbance that they want? In a way, yes. Whilst I still applaud those people who feel the need to go out and do what they've got to do in the street, I say this has to be a part of your journey. You can stay a fighter all your life.
You had to do it. You had to do it.
Yeah. And I think that maybe people, that's why I wouldn't take it away from anyone to say, I've realized now, because I was late coming to it, but I realize now, and I'm like, shit, I've got to do something about it. And now that as a man in this world, I've taken some kind of action, I'm able to kind of move on from that and go, okay, what else does it mean? Because they want me to stay in the war. And I think that that's a trick. But we need to be smart, and we need to have as much knowledge as guys like you and other researchers can pull together so we can take ourselves forward. Absolutely. No, I mean that with respect. I've always thought that, any team, any orchestra needs a full range of players with different skills, with different areas of knowledge. The pianist can't play the oboe necessarily. And the conductor is that, and the guy who's doing the
They're never
lights.
going to survive this year, David. We're going to absolutely smash it. They're just never going to survive another year.
No, well, we need the orchestra to play on tune, my friend, because this is what we've been doing. We've been burning our brass. We've been getting the pipes cleaned out, and that was my journey. It was like, fuck, I need to clean my shit. No more. That's why I made a big noise about it. No more porn.
Agreed for that.
And not that I'm knocking that, if that's, but for me it was about, just like Instagram and all these other poisons that we can kind of lose our time on. And I was exhausting my life energy on porn, and my soul energy, no doubt. And I realized that, like, these things, I needed to clean myself up, and no foul. No foul. This is not like a Catholic thing where it's like, oh, you bad fucker for doing those things. We all got involved in shit. And we may still get involved in a bit of shit, but it's to kind of be loving and forgiving of ourselves and realize that we have been fucked up by the system, and they wanted you to be a hungry dog or a fattened puppy. And we needn't be either of those. We return to our divinity. We take our sovereignty, love in a constructive way, perhaps in a way that isn't even like I have to ask, although I realize there's this birth certificate thing, and I don't know how all of that works out, but we can find a way to do it where we're smarter than the system. And we'll do it by having conversations between us and by perhaps being able to set aside the less important things, because from the very sovereign beginnings of you, there comes fracturing. All the way down. And so we need to repair all that fracturing, return to the top, and realize that those fractures are not us. Our job title, our skin color, our neighborhood,
program.
They're not us. These things are not us, and we are so programmed to identify with them. And maybe it helps if we can shed them and put them aside. But that's my 5 cents worth. Anyway.
No, I feel the same, David. I feel exactly the same. Did you?
Awesome. Well, I mean, I did WiseUp come in there? No. I like WiseUp. Yeah, I like his stuff. He's a bit contentious. I did say earlier, if you haven't heard me say, that later this evening I'm going to be on Ceiling Fan Man channel. Actually, not his channel, his friend's channel, whose link I don't have. But come on my channel if you want to see that chat with Ceiling Fan Man. And I hope to do more with you, Mark, because I really enjoy this convo. I always do.
Usually hang out anyway when we're in the right vicinity. Usually hang out when we're in the same vicinity anyway.
So we can share the old spliff across the old thing. But
well, you can do it metaphorically. It still works the same.
Yeah. Yours will be much stronger than mine.
And then you go like that, and then we've done the exchange. No one will even notice.
Yeah.
See?
Nice one. It actually went out as you passed it through the Ethernet. It actually went out.
Why'd you call it? It's called Ethernet. Yeah.
As I said, it's the dendritic. If anyone else listening, if you look into dendritic formations in riverbeds, in leaves, in the alveoli of your lungs, if you look at all of these things, you'll realize the synergy or the symmetry in their similarity in their makeup, and you will see that these are actually all electrical.
100%. Yeah, literally. Right? I was downloading pictures of these same features this morning, awesome. Like river tributaries and basically tree branches. Electrical synapses, and everything is just alveoli, even arteries, say our veins and arteries,
like a broccoli, the inside of a broccoli. And
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing is kind of set up like this. And if you haven't already looked at it, you should see where they run a really powerful electric charge through a wet plank of wood, and watch how it burns.
I downloaded
beautiful patination, right? So that's what I think is happening on Earth, and why the biblical guys might be right when they say that the Grand Canyon was formed in a day, where with an electrical discharge, you could create a tear in the fabric of this, and then it looks to us like a big canyon. That's how we interpret it in the game, as it were. So I think this is what's going on. It's a whole electrical exchange that we're having with this ether. In the past, the biblical guys talk about the flood and fires and stuff like that, and you will know more about this than me probably. But we think that maybe this one might be an etheric event. So if it's an ether snap or a moment or a change in the I can't breathe thing, then be kind of prepared for that. Don't be panicked or whatever. Just allow kind of I think, to be still, because if there is a shift coming in that way, you don't want to fight it. You can't. And so that's what I think. There might be sort of a shift in the electrical nature of the ether for a period of time or something like that. So there's my 5 cents worth on that. And actually, while I was thinking about it, when I look at a canopy of trees in the forest, I notice how, as the land undulates, the kind of trees follow that undulation. And it's almost as if the ether, as you get 10, 20, 30 meters above the ground, the ether no longer has the richness to support that tree. So it actually only tends to grow. There's the odd exception, but it tends to grow to a particular height. So I think we're in some sort of etheric soup. I also offer that once upon a time, if there was a flood, we lived, as you would probably absolutely say, we lived on lower lands, and these lands are now flooded. But as we were pushed uphill, we moved into thinner ether, because we know that ether becomes more dense the deeper you go.
Mm.
So
Now
perhaps we
everyone's got
lived in a richer
altitude sickness.
we lived in a richer ether once before,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
perhaps there could be a diminishment or an enrichment on its way.
Mm.
So I don't want to belabor this. You've got things to do, and people have got things to do. I know we'll do this again, Mon. Did you want to wrap it up with any last words to the lovely people who've come to listen in today?
No, it's all my friends there in chat, usually over on Flat Earth British. Loads of good people there, David. No, not really. Just come over to Flat Earth British. I'm probably going to post tomorrow and speak about all of the weirdness and everything else. And I have got a post ready as well. I had to rearrange it because like everything's changed to one rule book. Now I've got to abide by the rules a little bit so I don't lose YouTube. Yeah. The thing is, people are saying to me, "Oh, why do you jump to library or D Live, Martin? It's just no point. It just took me 6 years to get where I am." And I haven't really got that time in my life to be starting all over again, just struggling. Because it's always been an uphill battle just to get here, especially this round. I wasn't taken seriously at all in the first couple of years until, I went into changed my field, so to speak, into...
I remember, man. Well, I was watching you in 2015.
Yeah, and then it was like sort of everyone's, sort of, I don't want to be rude or anything, forced to acknowledge me in one form or another. So things moved on, So
yeah, but you see, here's the thing. I hope this is not too personal, but like a guy like you, you've been sort of shunned. I think I hope I'm not talking out of turn, but society hasn't really showered you with love, perhaps in general. So
no, I have been doing it a little bit on purpose because I try to be deliberately as about as annoying as I possibly can, David. So I know what I'm doing.
But now. All of that seems to you can kind of understand why all of that was, and in the Flat Earth British journey or the Martin Liedtke journey, you've carved an important niche for yourself in the story that we've got going on.
Quite good.
So I really admire that, respect that. I do think one of the things that we're going to need to do, aside from realizing that this digital thing is with us for the foreseeable future, and it can be an extremely valuable thing for us. It does feel to me like I need to also break away from the chat room environment and be more in people's energy. One of the big things about social distancing is if we're electromagnets, then we're meant to touch each other. We're meant to recharge each other. Dogs sniff each other's urine so that they can recharge themselves from the electromagnetic signature that comes from that animal. And we're meant to be doing that to each other.
Yeah, I feel it as well. The lack of hugness this lockdown and over the holidays. I'm like, yeah, so I 100% agree.
Countless experiments with children have proven that if you deny them physical contact in the early days, you damage them significantly. And that applies to us all through our lives, and why we're seeing record levels of depression and a whole lot of other problems coming down the line. So it's imperative that we take care of ourselves, knowing that this is what is going on. And when I go out in the street now, and of course it's in English, I try and at least talk to one person while I'm out. And hey, happily, just before I came live with you, a lady by the name of Donna and her friend Haley came around to tea with us this afternoon. Cool. I'd met her in the queue yesterday at the store. She wasn't wearing a mask. I started talking to the young lad who was serving us, the cashier, and telling him, he looked really pale, quite overweight, wearing the mask. And I was explaining some of the hazards of wearing the mask. And of course, she got involved in the conversation, and then one thing led to another, and we are having tea, talking about energies and stuff like that. So this is the sort of thing that I know that I can do in my little way, and where that goes in the future, I don't know. But people are very sad, and I'm not. I go into the park and I've had a few conversations with dads or parents or whatever, and quickly you realize that they're waiting for the new vaccine, whatever. You can't really help them so much as just be nice to them, love them, and let them go on their way. But those that have already kind of bitten some of the red pill, let me help you with some of the other stuff, because we can shorten that journey for people, and then we can also try and avoid some of the pitfalls of getting fascinated by the sideshow that is one thing or another, and we need to know the stuff, but equally we need to know, more importantly, who we are, what we are. And that's what I hope to do going forward, and talking to good people like yourself, and you know, will do what you can, and hopefully we'll
I'll do what I
continue
can.
continue to be of use to people in this community, and for them to maybe take something out into their own. So there you go. Guys, it's been really nice to have you in the chat. I will do this again soon, and I will definitely want to hopefully do another conversation with Martin if he's got some free time.
Monsieur.
Awesome.
One love to everybody. And they just put 51 thumbs down, and what was that for? It's rocked.
51 thumbs down. Well,
Yeah,
we've done well.
rotation. That's all it is.
We've
Sad.
done well. Well, I you know what I mean. Yeah, that's that's it.
Like,
We're not
big
gonna...
shout to Mel as well. Big shout to Mel.
Well, it's all about energy, isn't it? Just like the system knows, it doesn't care whether you're red or blue. It just wants your energy. So apparently the thumbs are all good, whether they're up or down.
Yay! I won't let it get me down, David. I just have bad time, whatever. Just like, I don't want to be unkind or anything. Like you just said, I'm not going to volunteer information in this period because you might cause trouble with the masking stuff going on. But if people are, interested and say, I think there's something going on or something wrong, I will help them along. I will plant seeds. I can't truth on them because I will leave them mentally fractured. Dribbling, going home. I can't do that to people. Anyway, that's all histories are like. You don't know the
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why Flat Earth caused such a strong dissonance in the community. When you go out and talk about it,
oh,
really
mate,
angers people.
Not so much nowadays, But back last Christmas before the lockdowns, the local sort of gangs and hoodie boys were all like Instagramming with me, thinking they're all absolutely rocked. So,
well, it may be, this is what you say is the great unveiling, and it may be that what happens is big truths fall. What's vital is
they may not be pretty.
and because if you think about it, like, I watch London Real occasionally just to see where.
Oh no, mate! Listen! That guy's going for London Mayor. They pushes that suit like there's no tomorrow. Stay away.
No. I don't particularly care for what at all. The message is well off for me. And if there's an alien
like girlfriend, mate, stay away.
He probably get the job. No. I only raise him because you see he is an example of how people who are coming awake and realizing that there's a lot of bullshit going on are looking for an alternative. And unfortunately, it's these kinds of alternatives that'll be fed to them by the suggestion box. Same as Russell Brand, Stones, the other one, the Joe Rogan. These are all.
You get on my nerves as well.
Huh? They're all controlling the message.
Right on my nerves, the narratives he's coming out. I can see exactly. He's an intelligent guy, right? I can see exactly what he's up to. I see right through it from the very beginning. I know what he's up to, and I really, really don't like it. He's talking to that man. I know exactly what he's doing, what angle he's taking everyone in. All of them. This guy from the off. Everyone was like, "No, man, it's real truth, man. It's real truth. Everyone join it." I'm like. But he's on the news and he's been pushed by everyone. He just had the most viral video in the history of YouTube with David Icke. Yeah, I downloaded it. It's here the day later. When he's talking about satellites and globes, and he's just they'll let you say anything you want, David. If you chuck a globe with stars in, they do the same with pop stars. You can have a shittiest pop band in the world, but as long as they chuck in a bit of space or a globe or two, they let them run away with it. And they do the same with this dude as well. He's a suit. All he's about is that. Yeah, he's a capitalist. He's always on about the coin. He's on about it's just.
How do you get London back to work? How do you get the slaves back to
if everyone trusts men like him, we're going to be seriously in fucking trouble. What we are.
If you think about the pre-World War II era, there would have been people shouting that, "Hey, this is a deception. This is not right."
They did.
So we're in exactly the same
So
position.
for
But
the first 2 years, nothing happened.
yeah,
Everyone was in uproar. Where's
yeah,
this war you're telling us all
yeah,
about? A bit like we're doing now, when there's supposed to be loads of like body bags out in the street,
yeah, yeah,
helicopters,
yeah.
cordoning off areas, armies, tanks, and all the things you would have in a pandemic, which haven't arrived. So yeah, it's the same thing with war. They called it the phony war. It took 2 years before they got anything kicking off. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was psyoped in itself, and the
yeah,
images, the
yeah.
film,
Well,
is
now, so they
movies.
spent a year getting this phony war up and running on.
Yeah, yeah.
So where's it? Where's the end?
Well, like
What's?
you said, it'll be stretched out because like they say in 1984, they need a perpetual war.
Mm,
This thing will be not going away. It's just not going to go away. Like I knew, soon as they said, "Oh no, it's mutated," I thought, "Well, I called that a week ago. I knew they were going to do it for Christmas. It's just to scare everyone off." Now in America, they're saying, "Oh, we all got to be retested now because of the English flu." Instantly causing a problem. It's
mm,
because it first identified the new variant bullshit made up thing here, apparently. So yeah,
yeah,
so they're gonna just like it'll probably be like really virulent, really airborne, and like you said they was clear in America. No, mate, they ain't. A lady in Ohio sent me a message. She's on curfew 6 till 6,
oh,
and
wow,
mandatory um, face masks. I think you have to wear them, or you get arrested and
wow,
fined $200 there and then for not wearing one in the street. And they're doing the same thing in Australia. They will roll that out in British cities. There's no doubt about it that they're going to do that in my mind. But it's still in the back of my mind. Where are all the armies? In a pandemic, you think they'd be helping society? They'd be.
mm,
You think that they would be somewhere, wouldn't you, in this show? And all you see is these endless amounts of coppers that just show up from everywhere. They got more of them than they have the civilians in these
mm,
protests. Yeah, the endless amounts of these blue uniforms, and some of them are just little swats. You don't know where they come from.
yes,
It's like, what?
yes, it is.
YTS? Did you get this job done a job centre? Were you glue sniffing before you got this job? And they're just crazy. And the women coppers seem to be worse. They've gone completely potty. Some of them, that woman in Speaker's Corner, oh my God. She was built like a sumo wrestler.
The
Yeah.
Australian, the blonde girl.
Yeah, yeah, with the wives.
Yeah,
It was despicable, wasn't it? And I was like, oh my God, what did they call?
yeah.
She was like Annie,
That's
took her clothes off. She was absolutely a nightmare. So yeah, that's what they got. And then they are getting that heavy and they're getting that bad with people.
mm,
So that's terrible in itself,
mm. It's
Rights. Right.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. We're living through maybe a worse version, perhaps, of 1939 Germany, or
100% worse.
and actually, if it's the same script writers behind all of them, of course they've been gearing up for this, and everything that's in place now has been in preparation for
Well, we
this.
know what they were talking about in the Bilderberg meetings now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. They've had their hands full, and they've done an incredible job,
Uh,
And
thanks, everyone.
I don't want to be honestly, I don't want to be in my heart angered by it, because that I know that when the time comes, and the time will come, to stand again in front of policemen and other people and say my thing, I don't want to do it from a place of anger,
Don't
because
move
if
for
I do that,
yeah,
they
kick it.
will find what they need to justify whatever actions that
If you're
I'm
meant to
taking.
be there, if the Most High tells you not there, like that big do that they had in London, the main Trafalgar Square thing. So a week before I did the protest in Cardiff, really, really disappointing turnout.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me to have a talk, but I met up with that Pierce
Corbyn.
Corbyn, and he's like, "Well, that was really good. Do you want to speak in London?" So I thought, hang on a minute, me on a microphone in front of all of them, maybe 100,000 people. Okay, I was thinking I could actually smash it. Maybe if it got like broadcast, and I said, every town, village, and city in the world do not consent. Everybody say no more, and let's not do this, and then we move on from here. But like that morning, I was supposed to have gone. The Most High said, "Man, don't go. It's a trap. It's a setup. You're in the middle of a triangle. I'm going to have you. And they'll definitely have you," is my message. So I was like, okay. And then I watched it live later in the day, and they were smashing people's heads in with truncheons, and it was psyops everywhere. Their
Yeah,
members, getting arrested. You can see the whites, right? They got this thing, the police, which they've trained them for, where when they're arresting somebody, they set up a barrier or a wall or a circle all the way around and facing outwards to you, because they knows the cameras are all watching. And then you get a guy in the middle of the circle with about 10 coppers on top of them. No,
Yeah.
this person's not usually fighting or doing anything. Have you noticed this? So that's traced into it, right? So I'm thinking a lot of these cases, these people are on the floor for the camera's purposes. Some of them are not really ringing true with me. If you'd have a little, if that was the case, you'd be struggling with your life, kicking and screaming, gouging. You'd be getting out of this shit. Like you say,
Yeah.
it's pussification of nations, but there's still tough people out there, David. So I'd be like, no, man. So this is not what I'm getting, and the buzz is all off. And some of these main commentators on these, that are out there, the big names, that are commentating always in the right place at the right fucking time. I noticed. I'm like, wow. So it's like you said with the, because I thought this as well. Like I actually said the same to Max Egan when he said, like, I said, are you talking about the Rona? I said, I'm not doing their job for them. And I thought about all the times I've been pushy with flat Earth, and just, doing like activism and just like, no, what are you, stupid? Losing it and
Well,
stuff.
well, was that the one that David Icke was talking at in Trafalgar Square? David
Sorry?
Icke. Was David Icke talking at that one you were going to? Was that the one?
Yeah, he was. And
Because
that's another reason as well, because I might have said something and called him out, like, rubber man, come here, let's have a word. Because I'm like that, and I really have no fear. So, like, they're really in trouble. So
because I want to put something to you guys thinking, listening to this, and that is that Piers Corbyn came to my attention when he first went to the Glastonbury protest
yes.
many months ago in the summer, I think. It was the very first one that I was aware of. There may have been others, but it was the first one I was aware of. And immediately at that place, he was arrested and a few others. Now, one of the guys that was arrested, I've spoken to personally, and he was genuinely, wrapped up and what he calls himself free. And Glastonbury, and he's a well-known local guy there, gives away weed free. Anyway, so that was what I saw.
That's right.
And then I saw like the growing presence of Jeremy Corbyn.
Piers.
Yeah, Piers Corbyn. I always get confused with his brother.
I always do.
I don't know this, but Piers Corbyn's brother was the leader of the Labour Party for a number of years, a little while back. So there is a sniff of system, at least a whiff
Public school boy, classically trained. He's one of them.
So I then see this wizened, with the old man get arrested countless times in Speaker's Corner, and it did feel sometimes like a little bit of a show. But I don't want to be unkind, and don't want to be traducing a man who's genuinely doing his best. But I don't think he spent time with Jason. I know Jason was arrested, and that was in Westminster. That was a legitimate arrest. Jason was with his family. And Robin lived in the lid, who was arrested just a little while ago, and these are genuine events. So I know that there's genuine, and I'm seeing some of this, and of course it's my Speaker's Corner, and you see them tearing it apart like that. Oh, it hurts. But I have also seen events staged where they try and create a particular narrative. Now I wondered about this. David Icke delivers a, relatively speaking, powerful conversation that really impresses the people, and apparently went kind of viral in America. I would say that within the context of truth. And then within a short while of David Icke's presentation, then the thugs turned up. They're trying to.
They couldn't have come in before he opened his mouth. They waited more.
Absolutely. If he's a powerful truth speaker, why would you allow that voice with his reach to reach so many? Because he has an extensive reach, and so I did wonder about that. I thought, if I was in charge and I didn't want this thing to happen, then I would have done all that thuggery that you saw at 4:00. I would have done it at 2:00.
Seems clear.
It's not like just like the Capitol Hill thing recently in America. It's not like they didn't know 10,000, 50,000 people.
David, do you think in a pandemic they're not going to have the opposition controlled or an attempt to control it? You know how this works.
Absolutely, and not only that actually they may very much want, like with every black and white argument we have, they very, very much want people to be aware that there are hazards and there are ills. I mean, of course, it's obvious to anyone who's semi out of their slumber, but they want I think they want that um, angry dialectic because they use it. You see it in the press. They say um, protesters clash with police when it's actually just families and normal people saying, I do not consent, getting beaten on by
I know.
paid
They're all lovely people. There's not even any
border
aggressive
patrols.
types there. It's not like football hooligans there or anything. They're just all lovely people and families. I know. It's
The only
disgusting.
violence that I've seen in the UK stuff has been by people in high-vis jackets and
Same.
in the early ones, they came in with the helmets jangling, either wearing them or jangling them on their sides. Now you see the PSG turn up
Yeah.
without the need for that because they know that they've got people so beat back. They just have to chase them down like sheep and catch them.
So
They're
they,
not going to fight back. And as you say, they like a rugby scrum. They get around the one they want, and no one else can get in to support him. So
no,
each person of us who wants to go and stand up and say, "Hey, there's something going wrong," unfortunately, you're on your own and you can't expect the crowd to storm the police because if we do what they do, we get a whole heap of shit come down from their little tennis court, their
yeah,
little
man.
black and whites who play their game in their courts. So from my view, it was like, oh, this whole thing, and I'm not knocking Kaufman or any of those people. I think they might just like anywhere else be like, whoa, the Earthman, let me try and tell as many people as I can. Or, whoa, this thing's not real, like they say, let me try and tell it. So, maybe these people are in that category, and I would want not to introduce their name where they
No,
do
no.
something. But it does create, and that's the nature of this, it creates the dialectic, the yes and the no team, or the on and off team. And we're going to see those two teams brought to loggerheads with each other. You will know this as we've gone through the months of these lockdowns. So more and more people are starting to feel, hey, you are not following the rules. Why should I have to follow them? Why are you putting other people at risk? And this is going to turn into confrontation. They're using these protesters who are attacking, well, they're using that as a narrative to
Yeah,
bring in
yeah, they would. Oh,
legislation. So they
yeah.
create order out of chaos, create the problem. Those who see it will give you enough ammo to say, we need to do something about it. But it's very much within a controlled environment. And yes, to allow Ike to speak and then shut it all down shortly after speaks volumes to me.
Me too. It annoyed me immensely watching that. Everyone
Yeah,
Putin
yeah.
and all that for half truths. Controlled it down. It was like just cringeworthy. And then I wanted to be there, so I was beating myself up. Thinking, I could have changed
Me
everything
too.
today. But like I said, I had a message, man. You won't even get that far. You'll be grabbed, which I suspected as well. I was
Yeah,
thinking they're gonna know I'm gonna open my
yeah.
mouth, and they're gonna know I'm fearless, and they're gonna grab me before I open my mouth, so I don't spoil the show.
Well,
You
I
know,
can tell
this
you for
guy
sure.
at the most annoying cretin I've ever seen in my life before. Him, come on. This guy was like, I don't know, he was dressed as a fucking bush or something. He was like, and come out with these nonsensical, cryptic um, monologues, which was just everyone was saying, "Get him off, shut him up, please." And he would go on, and none of it made any sense. It's like, I'll
Yeah.
take you on a personal journey. I did a trip once. I had a conversation with a tree. There's 100,000 people, and it was just like, what? I thought they might have had somebody to kill him before David.
Yeah.
I could get the
Yeah.
buzz. Maybe
Yeah.
put David on or something, to get the buzz all, ooh, that was good. Or maybe play and stick the new Flu World Order up your ass, Tom.
Mm. Mm. But what you've got is you've got all these disparate groups, stand up X, chemtrail groups, or whatever. You've got all these different groups who are all doing their own best efforts as much as they may or may not be controlled. And then they come together to say, we don't like the way you're treating us at the moment. And really nothing much happens, and they go back off into their own groups, never realizing the true nature of the deception, the true nature of the trick that's being played on us all. And this is why I feel like they're happy to have that kind of rah rah. Let's go and let's. I mean, as they do in America, let's go and demand. Let's go and stand at the the Senate, the Capitol building, and demand that they reinstate Trump or whatever it is they're arguing for. And this is all engineered. So I realize now, all this way in with my journey, that this is part of the engineering. And if I exhaust myself trying to fight this, much as my warrior like instinct or whatever, I want to go out there and say my thing and so on. And I know that that's right now that's a very controlled environment, and in which people are in a state of trauma, in which they are hiding as the bombs are falling, and you're trying to tell them that they're divine. It's a lot for people to grasp at this point in time. There's an energetic shift coming, maybe in the ether, who knows? But if we have an energy shift, then maybe there's billions of people who see this. But if not, there's millions of people who see this, and we need to be able to help each other along this journey on our way home to our divine center, our balance.
Yeah.
I see Jason, the Disbury family is in the chat. I just want to give him a shout out, because last year he lent us his camper van for more than 3 months, and wow, for our year and a half
Right.
of our homelessness, that was one of the biggest gestures anyone could have made for us. So thanks, Jason, for that. I still, while you're thinking about, not that I'm putting this on you at all, but I talk to Andrea about going on tours in the future and getting out and talking to people and so on. And she struggles to get behind me when I want to rah the flat earth and all this sort of stuff. But she does feel like this sort of, I named it the other day, I can't remember it now, but something to do with the love, something to do with the innate nature of who you are, like putting it back to, giving it back to you and saying, you are all of this. Don't give it away. It helps if you know you've been lied to, because you won't unpick the bullshit that you've been given, but you are the center of all of this. And I don't want to fight with you. If I have to get into an argument about this or about anything, then I need to walk away from that, because if you're not on the same vibration, whether my vibration is wrong or right or whatever, it doesn't matter. But if we're not on the same vibratory level and energetic level, then I'm good with that. I don't have to fight to make this world a better place. I think that we'll get there through love.
David, the whole world out there is a mirror reflection to us. So even if there is an opposition that you think against an individual or something, then it's not real. It's not actually real. It's a fake thought form. We must go with our direct experience, the now. Yeah, is what we do.
Yeah, and that if you hold true to that, then it helps to diminish some of the programs that we are also closely
to,
and
operate.
Yeah, and
the whole realm changes as well to accommodate it. Yes.
Yeah,
has to.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I can go and have a look at some of the more more the fear porn. I can go and look at more of that, but I don't need to reaffirm to myself that we're being fear porned.
I'm not interested. I won't give you my energy, like you just said, for energy exchanges. Yeah, if you give anything your energy, like thinking about Sharonas, making it a real thing.
Yeah.
Like doing their job for them and stuff. Like if you just associate, like I have since the very beginning, this shit's not even a thing, which is not. Okay, because all of this is a massive psychological operation with bells on. There's something else really going on we don't know about. They want to keep everyone indoors to keep them away from whatever changes are, I suspect. Yeah. Symptoms like altitude sickness, strange rashes, and breathing difficulties. Everyone's seemingly got. So either everyone's got the Rona, or everyone in this plane is experiencing exactly the same changes, which is what I suspect. So it's a Rona, isn't it? Keep you in.
No, that's what I think. And if we know how to harness it,
it's a new environment.
For it. But I realize that actually we are probably hidden within us as powerful as that entity that I connected to when I was on the DMT. And not that I wish to have incredible superpowers. I'm not I want to be in this world and not of it, but I want to make this material world, this material realm, this classroom that we're in, a better place. And we will never do that while we continue to uh, set off our authority to another organization of
Agreed.
any kind.
That's right.
I think this is why, uh, you know, I, I've never felt the need to connect to join clubs and
They'll take
organizations.
your power. Same with religion. And, all the decentralized outfits, they're all just to, draw you into that road of inquiry, that thought, There may be power and maybe strength in it. There may be elements of truth in it also. But the same token is controlled. And then you don't get that conscious experience outside of the mechanisms to experience the whole thing and wake up. Because you're in that tiny little box of information that they tell you to stay. Same for science as well. Same for the whole thing.
Yeah,
So,
I had this incredible experience years ago taking mushrooms in a place called the Transkei, and I was sitting with this girl, and we were swimming naked in this river, and then after a while we noticed
not your bit,
that
the other bit.
a couple of the local lads were sort of up on the hill over the rocks there and maybe watching us. So we kind of put our swimsuits on and called them down. And we ended up having the best afternoon. Like we were drumming together and just having a really really cool time. We couldn't speak to each other because we didn't share the same language.
Oh.
But after about an hour or so of hanging out with them, some tourists came on a tour drive to the very top of this cliff overlooking where we were, and these guys adopted their sort of hiding behind the stones thing, and we joined in with them, like we were in their kind of band, we were in their club. And there is in a community, in a village, there is a natural harmony struck between the people in that, and you need that because you need a village to raise children, you need a village to care for the old. So we definitely need to have villages of people, but the problem is that we've gotten into this thing where my village has to fuck up your village. Like I have to come there and beat you guys up, or you have to come around my place and beat us all up.
No, that might not be true. That might not be true.
That's the Germany, England, China, Russia. I'm talking in those sort of villages now. We've all been moved into these mega villages that we call countries, and my country is against that one. And we've all been inculcated with this kind of, rather than, hey, I need to support that guy down there, rather than beat him up. And so we lost that. We become so caught up with our black or white national kind of ideation that we forget that even though we are villages, we are individuals. We are also one. And it's this oneness that should be the kind of life, that should be the capstone of everything, is that we are all one, and that despite these differences, we can hold that common unity. I annoy people by saying there are unfortunately truths that you have to grapple with if you're ever going to get to that point of true Christ-like or Muhammad-like enlightenment, Buddha-like enlightenment. If we're ever going to be that rich, then we have to set aside these harmful programs. So there you go. Exactly. That's what I was saying. And actually, to me, if you think about the whole thing of us all coming from trees, and then this patriarchal system seek to diminish or demean the female, then you can think about what the word country might have originated from.
David. Oh my ears. What about if you use the word constable? Maybe that's where that word comes from.
Yeah. One of those from a stable. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm dear bug. Yeah, do you guys? No. I think we've got exciting times ahead. I'm really optimistic. I say to Andrea a lot because sometimes the news can be quite.
Oh no! Don't watch television.
No, not the telly, but we do keep an eye on what's happening in America, South Africa, Australia.
Oh
And
yeah,
you know,
we will.
we because we're watching this because we think that the timing of things is being coded in the stuff that's going out. So when they make an announcement like there's a new virus, it means a certain thing to you and me watching the TV, but it means something else to the illuminated people.
Yeah, cool.
And so it's like we're giving you a coded message to say we're at the next gate, we're in the next phase, we're in the next stage of this. Yeah. So I think that this is all going to very soon become far more obvious as to what they've been up to and why they've been doing this.
Sure.
But despite that, this is the point I want to end on, is that I think we were given this information, we were thrown out of our comfortable lives for an important reason, and not simply to get swallowed by the tsunami of corona, the beer bullshit, but to actually take this knowledge. Knowledge is power. Take this power, become enlightened, and with that, maybe enlighten the whole of this beautiful, material realm that we've come here to spend a short time.
Nice.
Any last things from you, my friend? Because I've overrun my time for you. So
You just echo. I'm having the same experience as you. I see only one of us here, and I want the same things as you want, David. I have faith though that all of this. I can't imagine setting your intent to see an outcome and the outcome not actually arriving, because reality doesn't work like that. So on that note, for thousands or maybe millions of people setting positive outcome to see, a positive outcome. Then that will be. So, I don't like to dwell on any negative thoughts in any regards, because there's no point, because then they got you again. So, just laugh, be happy if you can, help friends, and just be there. That's what I do. Flat with British peeps. Like, a lot of people are like going cracking up and stuff, especially over the holidays. So it's good to just be there, a little bit of reason, hopefully a bit of sanity, in this insane place we found ourselves. But I wouldn't miss it for the world, David. I've been waiting for this. I've been talking about reset for years before it comes, so I was well ahead of the game with it all. I'm well prepared.
We should have gratitude for having been given this opportunity to know as much as we know now. We're very, very unique in the history of since the last flood.
I reckon it's never happened before like this. That's the thing with truth. Once it starts showing itself, and you go into that, that avenue of searching truth, then more and more shows itself, and then it makes sense. You can't see the whole picture because it wouldn't make any sense. And the reality, or the gentle, lovely nature of this place that looks after you, would not let you know this stuff unless you were actually ready. So when we're spiritually ready to take on this next upgrade or information or whatever is going on, we will be ready. But you don't get it before. You have to be there. You have to ascend or lift your vibration. So that's what's happening now. That's why there's this interim period of weirdness. But they are ramping up silliness every single day, and none of it is an actual reality. So that's just to gaslight everyone, leave them all confuddled in their minds, and they can't think right. Drop their immune systems. It's cold. Drop your central core temperature, which also drops your immune system. Temper with food, all the food's off and wrong, because they just got rid of all of their different supermarkets, and they just introduced this B&M thing, Express, all over Britain, all in the pandemic. I mean, build them, fill them up with food, all in the pandemic. I'm like, what? And now everybody in Britain is seemingly shopping in these places, and everything's tastes so. It's the food, as you know, it's definitely the water. It's you're not going to be even outside of them chasing you around trying to inject you with crazy stuff. Until we get into a nice valley away from it all with our own river and our own water supply. Unfortunately, we're going to have to just keep on trying to make the best of it. But this place is toxic, poison. The air is wrong. Whatever is happening, we need to get away from it. Pronto is my advice.
I think, as we said earlier on, that if we can take our divinity back and return to heart, which is remember the three inverted, the eight, the infinity.
It's a given in my end.
To earth, to love, we return back to those things. Then I think that so good is God. And in my second language, Afrikaans, the formal word for God is here. Here. We pronounce it here. But God is here, God is with us. God is in you. In the Quran, it says God is closer to you than the jugular vein in your neck.
Yes, it's
And
just
this
that
is the
word,
temple.
that word,
Which
that
one?
word. The
Which one?
one that's dog in opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a Phoenician paradigm, isn't it? It's given to one of the Jesuits and everything else, and it might be just the vibrational quality of the word itself, sort of taking you away from the true grow, and it might be a thing. No, I don't doubt that there's a creator, and I don't
Accept that.
doubt at all for a second the Most High.
Mm.
That I know for sure right now. So, but they keep hijacking and
Yes.
sort of mediating off our spiritual experience from our higher selves,
Yeah.
in this realm.
Yes, and they use vibrations to.
Ether science, they're using the technology. All of these wrought iron things they had in the Victorian days with all sigils in place. So when the subtle energies of the ether were passing through them, they would affect the geometry, the fractal nature of this place to a bad form, because we're all water in this place, as you know, and everything is water.
Yeah.
And they were doing that to people, So these whoever manipulators, did a bad thing on humanity. I'm wondering where we will go when we break through with all of that. That might be just we haven't even got a frame of reference for where we're going.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the language that I use is limited by what we've been given, I'd like to think from my DMT experience that my higher self is so powerful that unless I cast spells with bad intention, then they're not going to be nearly as harmful to me as if, you know what I mean? So if I'm saying the wrong word when I'm referring to the all, the Most High, or whatever it is we are, it's not because I'm seeking to mislead. Simply, I'm using the language that people kind of understand.
Same, yeah. And I've been trying. Same, yeah. Exactly
And
what you're doing.
so many confusion. I mean, if you're in the Christian community, the whole Jesus was J. We know that J is a modern letter. Yeshua, Yahushua, the most Christian people. They're arguing about minutiae like this, rather than taking from the essence of the message of the Christ story and saying, how does that apply to me and what I am? And I say to people that I think that the Christ is in each of us. I think this is what Jesus is trying to tell us. And that the system is going to do everything it can to hold you in the dark, hold your light low, extinguish it, as it may be doing in some people's cases. But that light, that pilot light for us is alive. And I think we have the power to turn it up super bright. And with that, lead our brothers and sisters perhaps in time to.
That's what we're doing, yeah. That's what our job is, yeah. That's what that's our. We're driven by doing that, David. We know in our hearts that's what we're supposed to be doing. So.
Yeah, I think so. I think we all know that. I mean, we all come here like Alexander, come here perfect, unspoiled, and then everything that happens sort of robs you of that. And we need to remember that, return to that childhood innocence in a way, that childhood love, and then seek to emanate that rather than emanate, as you said, what you put out kind of comes back. So the more anger I put out there, as I found with the YouTube comments, the more angry I got with people in the comment section, the more angry people I found coming back to me.
Block them. If they ain't giving nothing to humanity, just block them miserable asses.
I've got no problem. No. Nowadays, I don't get into anything.
No prisoners. Pandemic. With them. I've had. If they're asking civil questions, maybe using manners, I will go. I will, especially with my topic.
Of course.
But if they're just there to, cause problems and fuck people's heads up or cause any division whatsoever, well, then it's obviously one of them. So, God, YouTube's hired thousands of these things to just try to track fees and messages.
Absolutely. And so, the more you want to, it's offering you your ego or your self-esteem some tantalizing little things. Oh, do you want to bite at me? Do you want to bite at this one? And the more you give into that, then the more that becomes you, and the more of that kind of energy you draw back in. So yeah, I'm actually, consciously trying to go the other way and not be in a state of frustration, anger, fear, low vibration. That holds me back going forward. And equally, I say to people,
don't let it. That's all my advice. If you feel like that, don't even let it. Because that's them winning.
Don't be either. Don't be like, oh, I need to be all, meditating 15 minutes a day and all that. That's not balanced.
Stockholm syndrome. You don't love your torturer, do you?
Yeah,
You don't love, you know. Oh, you're so nice. Kill me already. If they kill me, they just thank you.
Well, you know what? I used to have this thing when I was in Speaker's Corner. Like, I could shout as loud as I wanted to. The police could stand right next to me, and I had no problem because there was nothing that I was going to say that was going to trigger those guys.
It's great.
I was just saying truth, and I wasn't picking on people. I wasn't seeking to say that group over there are your enemy, this group over here are your friends. This is the only thing you know what I mean? I'm saying that the entire. So I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I need to go for coffee or something.
Coffee myself.
I had a brilliant time, and I care not, if that's what I was going to say. I care not. It was Miss Chance coming, 77 Brigade watching, trolling, etc. I care not for them. I welcome them to my channel. I welcome them to anything that I have to say. I know that the bots may not like me using certain kinds of words, but I'm not doing them in a hateful way so much as just to speak truth. And so whatever comes our way, I mean, Andrew and I have had to face this down and go, you know what, Dave, if you step up to the dais, as it were, like you said, you become a target. And yeah, that's true. But all along this process, I've been wanting to try and protect myself so that I can continue doing what I have to do without falling into their kind of hands. So I know that there's going to be stuff to be done in the future, and I know that we need to stay well and strong, and I welcome them, 77 and all them, to listen in, because you know what, you guys might learn something. You might realize that actually you are a divine soul, and that you have the opportunity here in the school to do something about that. I can't tell you what happens if you don't, but I suspect that it's, it's worth getting it right. That's
get it right.
Yeah.
We're on it, David.
Yeah. I think they call soldiers that because it's soul dyers.
Yes, indeed.
And I think there's something to that.
We got a 111 watching, Jazz Soldier. Who's Mel?
All right. 111. Well, that's awesome, and that's a great place to say goodbye, and thank you so much for listening in, guys. Thanks for your time.
Keep your vibration up.
Yeah, all of you do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the Flat Earth British.
Yeah, go to Flat Earth British, listen to what they got to say.
Yeah, you're like my old mate Russian Bids, didn't you? I always watches you and RV, my old mate RV.
Yeah.
Yeah, your 5-hour talks.
Yeah, I think I did one almost around 8 hours with him, but yeah, that's been great, and that's been part of my kind of returning to commentating and sharing my views and stuff like that. It's been a difficult year.
He's an absolute legend, David. Back in the day in 2015, he was the Flat Earth Goddage.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. So for me personally, it's a long way to have come to that point to be talking to RV.
Yeah, man, I gave up orange juice because of that dude.
Say again?
I gave up orange juice because of RV.
Oh, really?
No.
Well, people won't know that your super sub Lee was part of the inspiration of me starting this channel. Because
cool.
I was.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, because I had my David Mantle channel that I was running before I started talking publicly. But, I realized that I'd been blocked on Sun and Moon and maybe some other groups, so I had been thinking about setting up the channel. Then I ran into Lee in a hospital where he was going to work. He was doing No, it wasn't. No, it was down in Bromley. My father. My father-in-law happened to pass that day, and
then me 3 days later.
Well, he met you 3 days later.
No, you met me then. So you meet me.
Yeah, that's right.
3 days later, you're in the convention. I met Lee 2 days ago, man.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Yeah. What? It's like, just seen his head going past or something. It was like, that looks like...
I'd been sitting from like 3 in the morning to about 7 in the morning with my father-in-law, and I've gone to the toilet. I was on my way home. I'd gone to the toilet, and as I come out of the toilet, I see this head walk past the corridor. I'm like, damn, I know that guy. And I called. You didn't know who I was, but I spoke to him for 15 minutes. Like, man, you got to set up a channel. So That's
So,
part of my flat earth, because I was very connected to what you guys were researching back then, and of course all along my channel you'll find stuff on the mud flood and wonderful evidences, and of course I've learned a lot from your research, even if I have no time to contribute too much
so
directly.
I don't even know which aspect of it to
We
talk about next. There's
we
so
will,
many.
yeah, we've all got our bits to do. As I said earlier, it's an orchestra, and if we can pull it together, we will make beautiful music.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed. When we combo, a lot of things just come out anyway. You discover a lot more. It's better than an insular YouTuber, definitely.
Yeah. Well, let's try and keep it going as long as we can, and if we lose
Yeah,
these
brother.
platforms, we'll find another way, and people will find each other and do the work you can in your own place. I think that's whatever happens going forward, in your own heart and in your own little space.
Good
Try and
advice,
make
Dave.
friends. I'm getting friendly with the staff at the supermarket that
Cool.
I'm
They'll do. They'll do.
you know,
Local.
it's a new area for me, but I'm wanting to try and
Thanks.
make it as comfortable as I can. There's a forest nearby to go walking and stuff like that. So take care of yourself.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't miss my exercise any day. I will always push myself. But like I said, like you said, when I was down in Devon, I was doing 6-hour walking tracks a day and stuff.
yeah,
But like you say, I like to dig the ground. I like to get
yeah,
filthy dirty and graft all day and have that
yeah,
natural, lovely bit of soup at the end of the day when you're really knackered and feeling lovely. Is there anything
yeah,
better? A bit of crusty bread and some lovely soup after that.
yeah, man. That's
Ooh,
the
did you
real
feel that, man? Wasn't that lovely? And a nice
proper day's
pat.
work. Yeah, proper day's work. But
Yeah,
there's
I
times and
miss that.
seasons.
I
You
miss
know.
crafting. You do.
Mm.
This is not very good for you. Sitting doing YouTube all the time. It's not very physical, is it? But I keep fit anyway. I'm fit as a fiddle, David. I exercise every single day. I got my diet sort of right. Still like snacks, but whatever.
But you're one of those high energy people. Have met Martin. He's a very high
I
energy
am. I
guy.
am.
So you'll never get overweight. Me, on the other hand, I'm not doing any physical work at the moment. It's winter time. I enjoy a bit of chocolate. And yeah, I'll probably put on an inch or two on the
I
waist there. But I'm looking
can't
forward to getting
pound.
back to doing some physical.
Can't gain a pound.
But yeah, so just on the way out, I know the Ceiling Fan Man's kind. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm going to go and see the Fan
Well,
Man later on this evening, 9 o'clock UK time.
oh,
Very
cool. Yeah,
good.
thanks, Sealing Man. Nice to meet you as well. Thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure you'll see him more in your chat. And he's an interesting guy and does great videos, by the way.
Cool.
So check him out. And check out, most of you know Martin Liedtke. If you haven't gone to finish the latest iteration and his backup channels, then please do.
Got 3-man strikes. Naughty boy talking about the truth. Yeah, they don't do truth. So basically, by this 2 different narratives, I think it's an admission, and they want us to know that there's hidden land. I really do. One of the videos is deleted and gone, and it's down to Lumiere Brothers video I was showing. The second video on the other channel is still up and running, even though I got a full copyright strike 3 months back. Yeah, so still taking over. You can watch it now, and they say it's for showing a Periscope. 2 completely narratives, so bullshit to cover up what I showed, which is something Mel, who's in chat here, passed to me concerning this guy totally messing up with the sizes of Antarctica, saying it's bigger than America and Europe combined, which is with the mileage coastline wise, not interior. Okay, but if you go by the coastage, it's 95,000 miles of American coastline, 50,000 miles of Europe coastline. So it's like 145,000 miles of coastline. Yeah, Antarctica is supposed to be 33,000 miles of solid land mass.
33, did you say?
Yeah, 33,300.
No.
I'm not even joking. Check it out on Google. Can't make this shit up, David.
Well, they do.
There's imagination, though. There's not active enough. Yeah, I'm totally better imagination than that. I'm telling you now. Anyway, thanks, David, for having me on. Great to see you again, much love to the family.
Thanks,
Okay?
brother, and to your son and everyone.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, I'm here. All right, thanks, brother. Awesome hangout, everybody. Much love in chat. That was awesome in chat. I see. Great buzz in chat.
Just real fun.